Welcome to the Lost Lowdown, podcast number 20, with your hosts, Claude and Justin.
What's up, guys?
How's it going, guys? We've got a special guest for you today. The one and only Jennifer is back.
Hello again.
And so she's here to talk about Flashes Before Your Eyes with us, and good to have you. So what did you guys think of this episode?
I just wanted to say, you may remember her from the Glass Ballerina podcast.
Another incredible episode with much to talk about.
Yes, Jennifer was our guest on that episode.
Yeah. What did I think? Well, when I initially watched it, I guess when I initially watched it, I thought, I don't know what I think of it. It wasn't... Last week's was really exciting to me. I wasn't really necessarily excited by this one.
Mm-hmm.
And at first I thought that was a big letdown. But when I watched it again, I sort of was watching it not thinking about what was happening. You know, not like trying to analyze what it meant and all that, which was really clouding my mind. And when I just sort of watched it, like, dramatically, I think it's good. Like, there's a couple scenes that I think are really good, like parts of it. And so, like, overall, I think it's a good episode if you don't, like, want to think about what it means for the plot or whatever. I think it works on that level. But in another sense, I think I'm worried that it's going to end up being like Dave or something. So an episode that seems important that just in the long run doesn't matter very much.
Mm-hmm. What did you think, Jennifer?
Well, I watched this episode in much the way I live my life, which is with extraordinarily low expectations.
Nice.
And you know, inevitably that leads to being delighted and surprised. But no, I thought last week's episode was, exceptional, and I really wished that I could have podcasted with you guys on that one. But when I saw the preview for this week's episode, so last week when I watched the Next Week on Lost, I thought that it was going to be another episode like Further Instructions, which I thought was really awful. Just kind of hokey, and when I saw the Next Week on Lost for Further Instructions back in the fall, I thought it looked like it was going to be a really interesting episode.
Mm-hmm.
But then I was completely let down by it, and that's kind of what I thought was going to happen here, and so I was impressed by it. But I actually did think it was a good episode, and I don't think it's going to be like Dave insofar as Dave was kind of a throwaway episode where they, there were a couple of interesting things in Dave, but it was kind of it just didn't move towards anything on the island. Like, there wasn't anything. There were some really interesting things that happened in that episode, like the supply drop, but the main story of Dave with the whole flashback aspects and the eating and all that didn't really come to anything. But I thought that this episode was interesting, and I think without going into it too much at this point, I think that some of the ramifications of the kind of bigger concepts in this episode are going to play out in interesting ways on the show, and they. It didn't advance some of the bigger mysteries of the island, but I didn't really think that it would. So it's, I don't know. We'll see.
Well, that's interesting. When I first saw the episode, I liked it. It's not an action-packed episode, especially like the last one. I thought it was pretty good. Then I watched it again, and then I thought it was sort of worse because some of the things that they put out there and that they're trying to say, or at least I should say, some of the conclusion that Desmond makes, they don't really add up. And so I was watching this, sort of trying to piece together what's going on and what's really happening versus what they're sort of trying to tell us is happening. And some of the things weren't adding up. But I like, the episode was fine. It was actually sort of, this episode was sort of unique in that, it was very flashback oriented, but it wasn't sort of sappy, it wasn't Sun and Jin in their, melodrama, it wasn't, Rose and Bernard in their little, whatever. It was a flashback heavy episode but it was interesting. You know, they made it interesting with this idea that he's time traveling or whatever's going on, which we'll talk about. So it wasn't action packed like most episodes are, but or most of the good episodes are. But yeah, so I don't know. I thought it was kind of unique in that it was absolutely. It wasn't the sappy flashbacks they were used to.
Well, the flashback aspect of the episode, which was the majority of the episode, it was completely different from the flashbacks in other episodes, not only because of the way that it's framed in the episode, but because it's not exactly a flashback. Exactly. It's a flashback, right. But it's not a flashback to a past reality. It's a flashback to this a sort of reimagined reality that he experienced while he, in the immediate aftermath of the failsafe. Mm-hmm. But the comment that you made earlier about this stuff not really adding up, I know Justin had sort of a problem with that, but I think that that's kind of laying at the nature of dealing with time travel and seeing the future and issues like that are kind of inconceivable to us. Mm-hmm. And anytime you see a movie or read a book or whatever that deals with the possibility for going back in time and changing things in the way that it affects the future and blah, blah, blah. It's, it never quite adds up because I don't think it's something that we can really wrap our heads around.
Yeah, I don't, and I know what you mean. I think that's a different set of issues, the time travel versus what I'm talking about, which is basically Desmond's conclusion on what's going on and what he has to do. I thought, to me, that's my real problem is that doesn't add up. We'll get into it, but
yeah,
what
we
he's
should talk about that when we talk about that crazy, scary woman, Flanagan or whatever.
Yeah, Miss Hawking, I think was her name in the episode.
What is it?
I think it was Miss Hawking. That's what they referred to her as.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, she was named the actress that played her.
Yeah.
Yes, somebody O'Flanagan.
Well, let's get into the episode. Right now.
Alrighty.
So we got the first scene.
Which is hilarious.
Charlie and Hurley going through Sawyer's stash, which to me this is the kind of scene that I sort of imagine.
Oh my god!
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This listeners lost earlier. I don't know that happens to me all the time. I wanted to say something and I forgot, and it just hit me.
I feel like it hit us too.
Sorry. I just want to say this real quick about the episode in general. And this season in particular, I've noticed that they've been going with these very narrowly focused episodes. Mm-hmm. They don't seem to like when she was just mentioning Dave, the supply drop sort of occurred at the end of whatever, but back in those days, even the Rose and Bernard episode had several significant scenes that had nothing to do with Rose and Bernard. Mm-hmm. And The Whole Truth had that great scene with Henry Gale and whatever.
Henry Gale. I remember those days.
What's his name? Yeah. Anyway, yeah. It
right?
You could count on. I think Echo might have been maternity leave, but anyway, even if you didn't like the main plot line, they would give you enough of other stuff that you could still maintain interest in the episode. But this season, it seems like they've been going with very focused episodes that are sort of just about one thing, and not they've made sort of a half-hearted attempt to kind of switch, in a few, but in general, it just seems like they're going with this, because in this episode they're on the beach, but most characters have these cameo roles, where they just kind of walk on and stand there, and you're like, what are you even doing? I
haven't seen you in months.
Yeah, you mean Sun with her little
Sun, Saeed, Locke, they're all just sort of there to stand around and
and fill in the background.
I feel like that was absolutely the case with this episode, and then it has been the case with this season, but I don't know, it was more so with this episode. Even, the last time I did this with the Glass Ballerina, the bulk of the episode was this kind of lame sun emotion kind of bullshit, but then there was this really great scene at the end with the World Series clip and they do. They have been giving us stuff that deviates from the main thing that they're focusing on, but I guess it's just less. I think that they're revealing things at a less rapid pace these days than they were back then because there was just so much to. I don't know. There's so much to get to. I don't know. Does that make any sense?
Maybe.
maybe not actually. Anyway,
I just feel like they're sort of like this episode is pretty much like you could show it almost you could show this before the last episode, it wouldn't matter. You could probably show it after the next episode, it wouldn't matter.
This could be the first season or the first episode of the third season.
Yeah, why not?
It doesn't matter where this.
Well, it sort of lines up with further instructions. Like you could have shown it probably right after that. Like there's it's just weird how like the other episodes have this like tight structure, and these are sort of like they just seem kind of independent of each other.
Yeah, so it seems like a different group of people shot and wrote these little episodes. Yeah. It's like the main writers focused on Jack, Kate, and Sawyer, their arc, and then there's like a whole, the second tier people did these, it's really weird.
Yeah.
The unpaid intern wrote
It's odd though, Damon Lindelof like co-wrote this episode.
Yeah.
That's
why we have all this great dialogue.
Alright, so we can start. I'm sorry, okay.
So, if there's no more immediate thoughts to blurt out, then we'll start.
No,
the first scene is Charlie and Hurley going through Sawyer's stash, which I guess this scene, took place several days ago, these episodes aren't taking place, every episode isn't another day. I'm assuming this episode, what did you say, Justin, right after further instructions, maybe?
Well, no, I was saying it lines up as far as the fact that it shows what happened to Desmond sort of right after he woke up, as opposed to, showing Locke. But actually...
But it also seems to be the next day.
Actually,
because otherwise they would already know that Echo was dead.
I think it actually follows the cost of living because Echo's dead.
But I mean, this is basically taking place the same day as I Do, right?
I don't know about that. It's not clear how they line up.
Well,
it's definitely not it's not the next day after last week's episode.
No, it seems like it's the next day after the cost of living.
Yeah.
Echo has just died. They've just come back to the camp.
Didn't I Do end on the same day that Not in Portland took place? Pretty much? I mean, yes. I don't think Not in Portland got to another day.
No,
it's
it
the
was
next
the same day
because of the surgery.
Yeah, so I think, because they cut, back in I Do, they cut to them burying Echo.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe we can assume that's like the same day. And so if we can, then this is probably, right after that.
Well, they definitely buried Echo the same day he died.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I'm thinking as these guys in the end, well, I guess not in the end, as these guys are getting drunk on the beach, Kate and Sawyer are like about to wash up on the shore or something.
Oh.
Like, this is kind of the timeline we're looking at. Although it does seem like it would have taken them a very long time to row 2 miles. But they haven't actually left yet. They hadn't left at the end of last week's episode.
Oh, they rode away.
Did they?
Yeah. The end, yeah.
Oh, yeah, and Carl went with them. I was just thinking about okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They were
Never mind.
Now, the next on Lost suggests that, who knows what
But
you
can't, but you're not supposed to talk about, right? You can talk about
Next on Lost is safe.
I
just can't throw out it's barely a spoiler. It's
yeah. I mean, we like to save it at the end just because it's it's after this episode,
right,
but it's fine.
Yeah.
You can tell I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, I can tell you listen to us all the time.
I've actually never heard the podcast.
Nice. I don't know how we found you either. Did you? I don't know how we found you either. I guess you responded to an ad on Craigslist about.
Yeah. I thought that it was the foot fetish model ad that I was responding to.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, we did that one too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But I guess I didn't get the gig.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, our other email is footfetish@gmail.com, and you responded to lostlowdown@gmail.com.
How did that happen?
It's too easy. It's too easy.
Too confusing.
One of the weird things Hurley says in this scene, he calls Desmond Desmondo, and I had to go to the transcript to figure out what he said because I thought he said like Gugbungo or some weird like surfer talk or something.
Desmondo,
I didn't know.
I love that.
And then I found out it's Desmondo, and I'm just like, man, you're just reaching for stuff to say. Like that doesn't even make sense. Like shut up, Hurley.
He gets really good lines these days, like. That man can,
like, dude,
future, dude.
like, dude, like, look
Dude.
like, dude, like, that dude
You're,
can,
naked.
yeah, God, he's really stretching himself as an actor with these lines.
Yeah.
So, blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah.
he's actually doing it.
Desmond comes to get Charlie and Hurley, blah, blah, blah. Next scene, Locke and Sayid tell Charlie and Hurley that Echo's dead.
Another two people who've been getting really good writing lately.
I know. I remember
so sad. I long for the days of the old Sayid.
Man, I was going to say that. I remember the days when
bad.
Sayid was just awesome.
Yeah, Locke too.
Yeah.
And now he's just like kind of a bumbling fool, but Sayid is just, I don't
Yeah.
know. He used to really be.
Yeah, you could go to Sayid and he would help you out. You know, whatever situation, he had an answer. He could torture somebody. He could build something. He could.
Oh yeah.
You know.
It's been so long since they tortured anybody.
I know. What are they
The
doing?
show.
That was the whole reason I started watching the
They
show.
should torture Charlie.
They should torture Charlie.
Why not? Yeah, no, it's really sad to see what those two have come to. I really hope they start writing for them again.
Yeah.
But this scene plays out like it's so doofusy.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
This, if I could use my critical vocabulary for a moment, it's so. Anyway, this is actually the scene that I meant when I said that the first scene was so funny. It's not the part where they're rifling through the tent, but when they actually get to the they go into the jungle and Locke, oh god, his line is so bad. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much, and then next we have, they're talking and Desmond gets this strange look on his face, his spidey sense is going off. And...
yeah, his spidey sense. Yeah, and as Justin pointed out, like, no one is listening to Locke talk.
No one.
He's like giving this whole speech, and well, we're gonna tell him about Echo, and you guys need, and they're just like looking around and with the doctor gone. Oh yeah, I wanted to ask about that. It's kind of odd. Locke refers to Jack as the doctor. It seemed very oddly impersonal, like. Something he should have said, in episode 3 of season 1, before they knew each other.
The doctor.
But it just seemed really weird.
I think he said the doctor because he's making a point that he obviously knows Jack well enough to call him Jack, but he's saying the people in the camp don't have a doctor, and they're on edge. Yeah. They're on edge about that. That's why he said that.
And I think it's also in part to differentiate that he's not talking about Jack's role as a leader, which he clearly resents. He's just talking about his role as the doctor. Mm-hmm. Like, he doesn't want to say without Jack around, because it makes it, it
makes it seem like people are depending on Jack outside of his medical...
exactly. Which he obviously doesn't want people to think that.
Yeah, and Locke is being he's kind of being condescending here, just calling him the doctor and saying, that's the only skills you have of value is being a doctor.
Of course, they do have a dentist.
They do have a dentist. Although I have to say, if something happens with your teeth, there's not much Bernard can do.
That's true. But I think the dentists do have to go to medical school. So they might know certain things. He
should be next in line for certain things.
Yeah.
It just seems strangely impersonal because he's talking to people who know who Jack is, you know?
Unless Sayid, now without his opportunity to torture people, shows, other sorts of skills, like...
Yeah.
He's also a doctor, for instance.
It may have made more sense if Locke said, with our doctor gone or something like that, like... Yeah, making it the point that the person who can help people who are sick is gone.
Right.
Of course, there's still Sun.
Yeah, because it just seemed like he was calling him the doctor, not if like.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know either way. I'm just gonna go and say he's trying to make a point that
undermine him.
Yeah.
It makes the most sense. I don't know. It struck me as a little awkward.
Or unless there's a doctor missing and it's not Jack.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
That's the first.
Oh shit! That doctor we found on the beach is gone.
Yeah.
What happened to him?
And
maybe it's like Paulo or Nikki.
Yeah, God.
Maybe they're doctors.
Believe me, Paulo or Nikki could not finish medical school.
They couldn't. Hey. They couldn't be more worthless, actually.
Oh man, they're really Paulo and Nikki is right under Charlie and Claire. I mean, they're just like, oh man.
well, at least Claire
the good thing
has
about
a sort of interesting backstory.
The good thing about Nikki and Paulo is that they haven't actually done anything. They're just sort of crappy. They haven't actually, consciously done anything bad and stupid, unlike Charlie and Claire. So they still get some credit for that.
I was thinking that the good thing about Nikki and Paulo is that they haven't actually been in that many episodes yet.
No, that's the best thing.
Oh, okay. That was the distinction.
What? Well, okay. Oh, there's a computer. Okay, we can go now.
That's what you want.
Oh, God.
You're always talking about how they don't include us. This is our chance.
That's the best Nikki voice I've ever heard. Oh wait, was that Paolo? I couldn't tell.
Oh, zing.
Zing.
Yes.
All right, so Desmond has
Echo's brother's in there. Charles Whitmore. Anyway.
Oh dear.
Oh man, that's insane.
Nikki voice just.
Yeah, Nikki did a little dubbing for Libby.
Yeah.
I love
Okay.
it.
So Desmond's spidey sense goes off, and he starts running and running and running. Oh, Des, where are you running to? What are you running from?
Secrets you kept, lies you told.
If Kate ever makes it back to the island, the two of them can just, run around with each
Exactly,
other.
because they're both born to run.
Exactly.
Oh.
So he goes, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, he saves Claire, and Charlie's all upset. And I love when he goes, Claire, don't worry, Charlie's here. It's like, she doesn't give a shit. She's drowning. She doesn't care if you're there, Charlie. He's like, Charlie's here. And Desmond's like,
did he say that?
Yeah. And Desmond's like,
I love how totally
Charlie.
impotent he is in this scene. He can't even swim.
No, he
can't. This has been established.
That's why he would have drowned, supposedly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, he says in the first season that he can't swim.
Yeah.
And I can't believe
that.
Remember. Well, no, but he should remember. So I mean, I just don't understand why people. I don't know. Whatever.
Oh, I meant the writers. I could see him writing
writers.
him swimming sometime and just forgetting about all that.
Yeah.
Oh, he was just saying that.
He was just saying that because he wasn't willing to jump in and save Boone.
Yeah.
So,
that's weird. It's the same thing, and that's when that happened.
This is the third time someone has mysteriously. Well, I guess Boone was trying to save that girl, right?
Yeah.
She just mysteriously got swept up, and then Boone tried to save her, and now Claire just got mysteriously swept up from the undertow. And it's this episode actually had a lot of parallels. That and the whole Desmond Widmore, is
the son or the Jin,
the Jin and son's father thing, and
that was really similar.
Yeah. One of the things that I wanted to talk about, and after.
Oh, can I point out another one?
Yeah.
When Desmond is in the pub with the physicist, and the physicist doesn't believe him that he can see the future, and he says, well, what happens next? And he says, "This is not the way it works." And that's exactly what the psychic says to Claire when she asks him why he has to count the money.
Yep.
But anyway.
One of the things I wanted
recycling their old minds.
Yeah, I want to talk about, right after this, as Desmond is walking away with Claire, and Hurley goes, "That guy sees the future, dude." Basically we find out that Desmond went into the water to save Claire, because not specifically to save Claire, but to save Charlie, because Charlie would have gone in to try to save her. But I want to contend that Claire would have drowned by the time Charlie would have even found out she was out there. Now maybe they're still saying that Claire would have been out there and drowned, and then Charlie would have found out and tried to go get her body or something and would have died. But there's no way he would have drowned saving her, because she would have been dead by the time he got over there.
Yeah, after much frustration, here's the theory that I have that sort of helps this, is that it's this kind of Boone and Joanna situation where, so Charlie goes in to save Claire, and then someone else goes in to save her, both of them, and can only save one of them and saves Claire, and then he drowns. Does that make sense?
But the problem is,
like if Jack had gone after Joanna and Boone had drowned,
But the problem is Charlie wasn't there.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of problems with this scene. You guys don't want to talk about this when it actually happens?
Well, it came up like
Yeah.
if he I you could say Desmond knew, so he led him away, but
he doesn't seem to realize.
Yeah,
it
he
until
doesn't.
He, gets into the
He doesn't seem to
jungle.
know that she's going to
Well,
drown until he gets out.
You can't say that Desmond led him away because, Charlie. I mean, Locke and Saeed were the ones waiting over there.
Yeah.
So it was up to. It seemed like it was Locke and Saeed who were the ones who were at that location.
Yeah, and he doesn't get this moment of clairvoyance until they're already standing in the jungle.
Exactly.
And then the other problem with this, obviously, is not only that you can't think that Desmond led him away so that he wouldn't drown, but that if he hadn't gotten this vision, then how on earth they all would have still been standing in the jungle listening to Locke talk.
That was my
point.
That was my point. However this would have happened, Claire would have drowned before they, because if they would have, if he didn't have the vision, they would have sort of casually finished their conversation and walked back to the beach. At least 10 minutes or so, or something like that. Claire would have drowned, and So that's the first weird thing about this whole time travel and seeing the future is that he says one thing, but that's not how the situation presented itself. So I guess the only reconciliation I can think is that they would have sort of finished their conversation and gone towards the beach, and then they would have noticed Claire was in the water, and Charlie would have jumped in and drowned trying to save her, but Claire would have been dead already.
She would have already been dead.
Yeah. But it's odd because that seems to say that Claire was supposed to die, and he seems to deny that, or at least not.
He leaves it out.
Well, is there any way that Charlie could have saved Claire but still died himself in the water? Or maybe, or like you said, Jennifer, it's the Jack and Boone thing where Charlie went out there to save her, and then someone else did, and Claire and somebody else would have survived, not Charlie. It still doesn't work
because of the whole jungle thing. But I think that's the closest sort of excuse you can come up with. But all this time talking about the scene, and we haven't even mentioned Claire's bangs.
Mention her bangs?
Yeah, she has bangs now.
Really?
Yeah, they must have found those scissors that Kate used to give Sawyer a haircut.
Oh, nice.
Because she's got bangs now.
The Dharma scissors.
It's a nice kicky summer do for her.
Isn't this like December right now where they are?
I don't know. Yeah, I guess so. But it's
not
perpetual.
That you can tell the difference.
It's perpetual summer there.
Yeah.
But on the subject of haircuts, if I may, Jack by now, because of the length of his hair, he would have the most unattractive, scraggly look right now.
Mm-hmm.
Even if he's shaving, how could he possibly be trimming his hair? He would look. He would. They can't let go of the desire to keep the. Keep the sexy factor.
You mean? Well, yeah. Please don't let that go. But
please.
you mean
will stop watching.
You mean since he's been on the island, or since he's been captured?
Since he's been on the island.
Oh yeah. Well, they all would look pretty bad. I'm assuming that someone has scissors and stuff, and they. People get haircuts and they,
Yeah, no, but can you really cut hair like that with scissors? You need a...
Oh, Jack's hair's really short.
Buzz clipper things.
Yeah, I need like clippers.
But other people's hair is getting longer. Son's hair has grown 5 inches.
Hey, that's part of the time travel on the island. Things are speeding up, and,
but then,
but
just incorporate that in the plot.
What I would say about Jack's haircut, at least to the point where he was in the hatch, is that they probably had some sort of clippers or something in the hatch because
maybe
they would want who's ever in there to be able to take care of themselves. So
I guess they just don't show it, and so
I don't want to see Jack cutting his hair.
No, I don't either, but...
What?
But I don't know, it just seems, like everybody else's hair is growing.
Yeah,
Michael was looking really scraggly. He couldn't have, in that one day that he was... I guess he was preoccupied.
I think they made him look scraggly because it was Michael on a journey. Yeah. Michael was gone for a while, and he comes back, and oh, look, he's been gone for a while. Look at him. He's
it makes him look...
changed.
It makes him look a lot more exacerbated when he looks like that. All right. Next scene, please.
Maybe when Jack comes back, he will look like that.
No, he won't.
I know.
Not unless they want the ratings to go down.
Ooh they already have.
I know. So the next scene, Claire's talking to Desmond, and she's thanking him very much. That was really bad.
Wow, that was
Wow.
what accent was this?
That was Clarice.
I see. It
Um,
was Claire after a long sojourn in Alabama or something.
yeah.
Oh, season 12.
Season 12, thank
Oh
you.
dear.
There's sojourn through Alabama and related stories.
Then
The island is actually off the coast of Alabama.
Can I recap the scene and then we make the jokes? Can that be?
Sorry.
Can we do that, please? No, I'm just joking.
Were you?
What scene are you doing? I don't even.
You're not
the
even paying
Claire
attention.
on the beach.
Oh,
with
That's
Desmond.
awesome.
Okay.
You know,
I got off
Jennifer,
track. Sorry.
Jennifer, you incite this kind of raucous behavior.
Well, we're both drunk.
We
Oh.
are not well behaved.
We're doing lines of coke between scenes here.
We're
so.
making pig smoke.
Nice.
Oh, man.
Nice. Well,
Oh, man.
since you're doing that, can you tell me what that is?
Trade secret.
If you have to ask.
All right.
God,
All right.
You'll never know.
So, like I said, Claire's talking to Desmond in this next scene.
All right.
Yeah, all right. And then she's thanking him, blah blah blah, very Claire like. And then
Mhm.
Charlie comes over, very
Clearly.
very Charlie like, and says, "Oh Claire, I thought you were only going to be 5 minutes. Aaron needs feeding. Aaron, blah blah blah." You know, he's just pushing the bad mother card and
Right.
making her feel guilty.
I'm sure she loves that.
The doting Charlie.
And then we get the next, then we see Hurley talking to Hurley talking to Charlie, and oh, I'm gonna find out what he knows. I ain't gonna do that, man. We're gonna get him really bloody drunk. I mean, what kind of plan is that? Who comes
It's a
up
very
with
British one.
I guess, like, just hey, we're just gonna get him drunk. Then he'll tell us everything he wants that we want to know.
Well, what I love about this is that throughout the course of this episode, which I guess if you take out the flashback, is only it's really not that long. But throughout the course of this day that they're dealing with, Charlie seems convinced and obsessed with the idea that Desmond is up to something.
Yes, I made that same note that he seems to be like there's something going on, something sinister.
Yeah, like there's something devious about what he's doing, like saving people's lives. What is he up to?
What is your motive,
Well,
sir?
they say
Yeah.
Superman was actually a villain because he was, always doing really good things. So that makes you a villain.
Yeah,
as well, right?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
What's behind all of this?
yeah, but he, the whole episode, he seems to think that, yeah.
I think it's largely jealousy. I think he's like,
Yeah,
how are you
totally.
able to save Claire? To sort of know to save her, and I wasn't, and I need to know how you knew that because I'm insecure and blah blah blah. And,
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I'll present this that despite how implausible it might be in any other circumstance, to say like, oh, this guy can see the future,
Uh-huh.
as Hurley says to Charlie, after everything that they've been through and seen on this island, why and the fact that either Desmond is just really lucky, or he really can see the future. Why is Charlie so unwilling to believe that he can just see the future?
I think I get your point, but I think that just because weird things happen on the island, you still don't want to just accept weird things happening, new weird things.
Yeah, but Charlie, of all people, I feel like they've established him being this person who's kind of obsessed with the island mysteries.
Yeah.
He's seen the smoke monster more than once. He seems like a really superstitious person.
Well, he didn't. But he
he's-
didn't know that Desmond could see the future. I mean, he didn't tell him that to the end.
No, but Hurley tells him that.
Yeah, but Hurley, it seems like he
But why
didn't
doesn't
listen to
he- I don't-
Hurley.
I just don't understand why he doesn't believe Hurley. And I can understand why in the real world, if someone, if I was like, man, what's the deal with this guy? And then somebody
Mhm.
was like, oh, he can see the future. I was like, what? But I don't know, the facts kind of compel him otherwise.
I feel like maybe he just wants Desmond to say it.
Yeah, and it seems like Hurley wasn't really convinced because like Hurley went along with the whole drinking thing too, and it seems like if Hurley really thought he had the Desmond pegged, that I don't know, it seems like that would have carried on a little bit differently. But
no, I think Hurley totally buys it. I think he's just kind of goofy. Like I think he absolutely believes it.
You think so?
He just goes along with it because I mean
he's got nothing else to do.
Yeah, exactly. What else is he gonna do?
Yeah.
But anyway.
I don't buy it. I don't buy that he can really that he really truly believes Desmond can see the future because he never questioned Desmond about. I mean, maybe he'll do it later. But in this episode, he never questioned Desmond about it. He never said, "Hey, man, do we get off the island?" Or, "Hey, man," he didn't question it himself, which
I
made
think he's
it
kind of scared of Desmond, or he doesn't really know Desmond that well.
But still, he could question him about some awesome power of seeing the future.
Oh, if you're asking why people on Lost don't ask questions, I mean, ugh. No one ever does.
Does that happen a lot?
At least not the right questions.
I think he believes. Well, because he was the one who heard the thing about Locke's famous speech, and then he what else did he do?
I think we needed that line from him for the episode because that line sets up the whole big flashback thing, and I think we needed the audience, the writers look like we need someone to say he can see the future, so we watch the flashback and his conflict with that.
Mm-hmm. But Hurley's the one to say it.
I know, and Hurley exactly. It makes sense for Hurley to say it. I guess my point is Hurley's actions don't support that he really truly believes it. It just seems like that's something he said. He might believe it, but I feel like if he really truly believed it, it would have been different. But I think suffice it to say, we're supposed to believe Hurley believes it, so that's fine.
Yeah, I think this is a good opportunity to put in my 2 cents about the New Year's resolution.
Okay.
I think it's good. I think it's a good one, and that it's going to lead to a lot less frustration for me when I'm listening to the podcast.
Justin, you want to...
At least one of you is willing to believe on occasion what the people behind the show want you to believe.
Well,
and I
that's
think
good.
that in this case, the writers want you to believe that Hurley does believe that Desmond can see the future.
True.
I do too, but
even if his actions, insofar as having not asked Desmond any specific questions about the future, don't support that he knows, I think that doesn't mean that he doesn't believe it. I think it just means that he hasn't asked him any questions about the future.
Yeah,
you
sure.
know what I mean? So
I agree that he should ask him stuff, though. Like, realistically, I mean, if I knew somebody knew the future, I'd be asking him all kinds of stuff.
Especially if you were stranded on an
But
island.
I think it's just one of those writing things. Like they
only have room for so much.
Yeah, and they just sort of they just want him along. Like, he doesn't really serve much of a purpose in this episode. He's kind of just tag along Hurley.
Yeah.
They don't I don't know. They don't really make him do anything substantial. If he started just asking questions, it would have been odd. But I agree that's realistic, and it seems like it's if you really believe it, why are you behaving this way? So,
or they could have at least had him say it one more time, directly to Charlie, if Charlie's oh, we're gonna find out what happened, and Hurley goes, dude, I'm telling you, he can see the future. And if Charlie blows him off again, then we're okay, fine. Charlie doesn't want to believe it, but Hurley believes it. I guess one more time it would have sunk in for me.
He did have the line when they were getting the alcohol, when he said he's gonna know what you're gonna do or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's true.
And then he says, that's why we'll have to get him drunk, because then he'll know and be drunk. That didn't really make sense.
That didn't make any sense.
Just didn't.
We'll get him so drunk that he can't see the future anymore.
Yeah, no, we're going to go back in time and get him drunk so he won't know what we're about to do right now.
Yeah, it doesn't, he'll know you're going to get him drunk, it doesn't, whatever. But although it's clear from the episode that, it doesn't work like that. You can't just, you can't command what you're going to know.
Yeah.
It has to be, it's just specific things. It's, somebody in peril or whatever.
Just Charlie,
excuse me. Because, I'd be hey, we're gonna get off the island. What's the deal with the others anyway? Who's that eye patch guy?
Who's that eye patch guy?
What's the smoke monster? I don't know that he necessarily is gonna know.
Yeah, he's not.
Well, my theory.
He can see the future. He can't necessarily. Hey. I mean, presumably what he sees when he sees the future are things that affect his personal knowledge.
Yeah, that's
future.
my theory about what's going on is that he basically, he can only see the future in so much of what affects him or what affects
Oh,
him.
and speaking of that, you know what else is weird? As far as the drowning thing, like he wasn't there, So if he just sees stuff that he was there to see, it seems a little odd that he would see Claire drowning when he wasn't there.
Yeah, but he might not actually see Charlie drowning. He might see the aftermath of Charlie having drowned. Like, he might see the future in which Charlie has drowned trying to save Claire.
I really think in order for that to make sense, like it would have been, the first timeline is that they're talking in the jungle and then they casually finish their conversation. They walk out to the beach and they see Claire. Charlie goes in and someone else goes in and Charlie drowns.
Okay.
I think that's how it would have happened. But then but right before Claire dies, he has the premonition, so he's able to go save her before that. But I think the idea is that they would have, for it to work, they would have had to have gone down to the beach at some point.
Right.
I
guess like my thinking was if the people if the lost people on the island discovered all the solution to all those mysteries and he were still around, he might have known at some point.
Right.
And so like I don't know. To me, it'd be worth asking. Who knows what might flash before his eyes.
Yeah, it seems like his flashes are dependent upon, or like I said, a spidey sense, like whatever's about to happen right then, he can sort of tell, it doesn't seem like he can like say, okay, what's going to happen 10 years from now, Desmond, and he can tell you.
Well,
the Locke's speech was
a ways before, and so was the lightning. Like he had time to carry out this whole thing.
It was only according to a line in this episode, the lightning thing was just a couple of hours.
Yeah, it was a couple of hours. It wasn't
but that's
days.
Still not an immediate danger.
Well, but it's not 10 years away.
True. I think we're splitting hairs about spidey senses here. I don't actually know much about a spidey sense.
Well, like with Claire, it was an immediate danger.
Yeah.
It was like she was drowning right there.
Charlie.
And the other times, it was sort of more of a delayed, like, it's going to happen in a few hours.
And that's really a plot thing, too, because he needed time to, try to get Claire and Charlie out of the tent, and they didn't, so he needed time to build the thing. And
right.
And if
lightning's not something you can run over and stop.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Unless you're Superman.
Unless you're Superman with a super plan.
Speaking of Eye Patch Guy, he's somebody I'd really like to hear from again soon. As is Penny, not in flashback form, but in getting a phone call from the Brazilian snow people form.
Yeah, well, I will forward that to Carlton and Damon and let them know that you're looking.
They're new and unpaid intern. Right?
I am. Well, no, I got paid. I got started getting paid. Yeah, it's only $20 Dharma dollars an hour though.
But that's enough to buy some fish biscuits.
Hey, it really is. Buy some Clucky's chicken. Okay.
$20 real dollars an hour isn't that bad, but Dharma dollars.
$20 an hour is more than
Dharma dollars.
Like Canadian dollars or
no?
Like they're not worth anything.
No, they're not like Canadian dollars. They do exist.
Okay. Ha! Sing.
Okay, let's go to the next scene here because we're only on scene 4, guys. Let's.
And yet we have nothing. And yet we all three said that we don't have anything to say about this episode.
Yeah. Imagine if we actually had something to talk about. Okay. Blah blah blah. The next episode, Charlie and Hurley come to Desmond with the whiskey, and Desmond notices it's McCutcheon whiskey, which we all know from his past that's a really expensive whiskey that Widmore drinks. Well, I mean, we know because we've
find it out.
We've seen the episode. That's what I meant.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Just, in case anyone is listening to your podcast in lieu of actually watching the episode.
Let me tell you now, that's not something you should do. Don't do that. Because I hate to say it's probably not as interesting as the show itself.
Oh.
Well, it depends on the episode.
Yeah, you're right. Oh,
it really does.
Nice. Lost Lowdown. Better than further instructions.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, man.
That's great. I really had such high hopes for that episode. Anyway, never again.
So they get drunk and, they're going through the whole thing, and then we get to the real point of this whole thing. Charlie asks Desmond about Claire and then drowning, and
We're not going to talk about their songs?
Sure. Let's talk about the song.
No, I mean, I'm joking.
Oh,
but I do think it's. I mean, are British people really like that?
Yeah, I think it's yeah, you're right. British specifically, they all like to drink. Let me categorize them as one type of people. They all like to drink, and they all like to sing songs while they're drunk. Mm-hmm. And I know this because I've met them all.
Yeah, it seems like there ought to be. There are all these people who get really worked up about depictions of Italian people on TV and in movies as being these like mafioso.
You mean Italian Americans, please?
What did I say? Italians?
Italian American, please.
Yeah, Italian American. But you don't really hear people complaining about depictions of the British in films. Anyway, continue, please. Can we edit that out?
Well, we'll discuss that more on our cultural biases.
I've started on the subway lately seeing all these ads. I guess A&E has bought the rights to replay old episodes of The Sopranos, which is a show I've never seen.
Oh wow!
But the ad campaign is so kind of gross. Anyway, go ahead, please.
All right.
Charlie asks.
Yeah, I did want to mention the song only because it's really funny. It's a very, very easy and specific writing thing where like, you show the aftermath of drinking and how do you show people having fun? Well, you show them drunk singing a song. And so I can just imagine it was like, and action, da da da, she was only the farmer's daughter, ha 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 ha. Now, about Claire's drowning. It's like, it's only
Charlie's
like
stone cold sober.
Yeah, when he's like, so Desi baby.
Desi.
Gotta ask you a question.
Let me ask you something, buddy.
I wonder what it's gonna be.
Yeah.
It's like they're all laughing and joking, and then he gets all serious.
Yeah.
And...
Hey, Desmond, where do you get your pants? You have nice pants. Are those Dockers?
Did we once meet in London outside Widmore Industries?
And I was a real ass.
And
I was a real ass to you because that's just who I am. And
exactly how many buttons do you unbutton to get that perfect sort of attractive open shirt look?
Yeah,
so you're such a master ass.
You show just the right amount of chest hair. How do you do that?
Oh dear.
He's like, anyway, I can see Desmond like unbuttoning his shirt. He's like, 1, 2, 3. 3.
It's like the old Tootsie Roll pop.
Yeah, exactly. The world may never know.
To get to the Tootsie Roll center of the Tootsie Roll pop. Then let's see.
The owl is evil.
The owl is evil, and
not evil.
No, the owl is
absolutely evil.
The owl.
How many licks? Well, how about this? I'll eat it.
Exactly. And not only that, what makes it worse is that the turtle knew. The turtle knew the owl was going to do that. Yeah. And that's why he's like, yeah. Hey, boy, go ask the owl. Yeah, he'll tell you all right.
Mm-hmm.
No, they had a plan. Oh, yeah, of course. He's old and wise, just like the owl. They have friends. They do that.
Yeah.
That's a mean prank. I never really thought about it that way.
It is a mean prank.
But I think the owl just couldn't help himself.
Well, it is a Tootsie Roll.
Exactly.
Pop.
Tootsie Roll Pop.
Yeah, sorry. Tootsie Roll Pop.
Yeah. The only flavor of which that's worth eating is chocolate.
You're right.
Anyway.
You know what you're also right about is this next scene.
Nice segue. You're known through the internet community for your segues.
I am.
You just suggested she's going to be right about the next scene. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, well,
normally it doesn't mean anything.
That guy can see the future, dude.
Oh boy.
I've done that before. Remember, Justin, with the me telling you what I'm going to tell you something, and then you're going to believe it. Well, you're going to not believe it, and then you're going to believe it.
Yeah,
and
it's like the stages of disbelief or whatever. Right?
Yeah,
and you get to watch them unfold.
Yeah, it's like I'm gonna tell you something, and at first you're not gonna believe it. Then I'm gonna tell you why I think it, and then you're gonna believe it, and then it happens exactly like that.
It did.
So next scene,
Charlie asks Claire about the drowning, and
Charlie asks
Desmond,
and yeah, that's what I meant about Claire's drowning. Yeah, Charlie asks Desmond. And he doesn't really give him an answer. Oh, I guess I heard him. Guess I heard her. Dude, you're like a mile away, man.
Which provoked the discussion about the 30-second mile that he appears to run.
I really think, and my first thought was that same thing, that there's no way he ran a mile that quickly, but I think he was exaggerating when he said
Yes. I think it was a bit of hyperbole.
Just a bit.
Yeah. Because isn't the 3-minute mile the time to beat?
I don't know. I don't race a lot.
That's like the fastest
One
mile.
thing to note is that she wasn't yelling. She was drowning.
Yeah, she was unconscious.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, he heard her splashing in the water.
Oh, okay.
Which she was too unconscious to do.
The kind of splash only Claire could do. Claire swims much like she raises a child, very ineffectively.
Effortlessly, and with very little success.
Okay, sorry. Let's go back. Let's get back on track here. So, I mean, there's nothing really to say. Basically, they get into the big fight. Charlie calls him a coward. That whole series that he leads into, I thought was pretty crappy because this is the first part where we see that Charlie has some resentment against Desmond about what happened, and he sort of thinks something sinister is going on.
Yeah.
When nothing really is.
Yeah.
All right. Good show, guys.
Yeah. Namaste.
Sorry.
And good night.
Good night?
Is that not what you say? Namaste
Good
and
luck.
good... Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's all right. Good night, though. I like that.
I was thinking about going to bed, though.
That's
so
the
good
late night talk show version.
Yes, I agree. What's the next scene? The first scene of the flashback, right?
The first scene of the flashback is
So this is where the show starts getting interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
That microwave, the scariest microwave.
No
ever.
microwave should ever beep like that when it's ready.
That's pretty good impression.
That is pretty good. I think you just.
He's
I think
been
you
practicing
just played.
all day.
I think you played an audio clip. You didn't fool me. You played.
I was when that scene happened. Can we talk about that scene or should I wait?
I totally shit in my pants when I said that. That's so scary.
Yikes. That's a different. That's a different podcast.
What?
Yeah, wait, what scene are we on? Okay, so
the next scene,
he's back with Penny, blah blah blah.
Well, there's this series of flashes of
his life.
Yeah, is it? No, it's like flashes leading up to the failsafe, right?
Which was part of his life.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, because he says my life flashed before my eyes, and I think that's where the title's coming from.
The life flashing before his eyes is more the bulk of the episode that ensues, where he kind of relives.
That wasn't a flash, was it?
Well, I think that what we're talking about now is kind of one of the interesting things about this episode is what exactly is this whole thing that happens in the middle of the episode. What exactly is this?
Yeah,
that's happening. And I think after watching it a couple of times, I think that what you're actually seeing is meant to be understood as what he saw between the time that he hit the failsafe and kind of got knocked out and when he woke up in the jungle naked.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really his whole life flashing before him, but I think that's just kind of a writing thing.
Well, and they can't show his whole life because they'd have to go film stuff we haven't seen before,
right? And nobody would care to see his childhood. Really.
I think it's supposed to be his life in general,
I mean, it's a significant moment in his life. It's like a significant period in his life.
Yeah.
Obviously seen in a modified way.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and talk about this. He's getting ready. He
wakes up covered in the
red paint because he's painting his,
which is great. I think that's a really great scene.
Yeah, it was okay.
Oh, whatever.
And then he goes. So then the next scene is he's getting ready for the job interview with Mr. Woodmore, Penny's father. And then there's a couple things in this scene that are reminiscent of his time on the island. She says,
Oh, you skipped the digital clock. He looks at the digital clock and it says 108. He's like, 108?
Oh, yeah. I forget about that.
There's that, and then the microwave.
And then the
scene
microwave.
where he's getting ready.
Well, then she says, the
And
first thing is she says it's not the end of the world.
Right.
Which sort of triggers something. And then the microwave beeps, and it's the same as the hatch. And that's pretty much, the only thing in that scene. The next scene, he arrives at the office, and the guy has a parcel for 8:15, and that resonates with him. And then the next scene we get is the actual interview with Widmore.
And the painting. The painting. I love the painting.
Yeah, he looks over and sees the painting in the office.
The Namaste polar bear painting. I love it. I don't know. I eat this shit up. I guess because I'm not. I guess I'm kind of their target kind of TV watcher for this kind of thing. I don't know. I just love these little things. I eat the shit out.
You're their target TV watcher?
I don't know. With things like that, like, they're kind of gimmicky, but I kind of love them because I guess I'm just that kind of.
Well, I guess we should point out for people who don't know, in the office there is a painting in Widmore's office that has a polar bear and like some guy like hanging upside down, and then it has Namaste written backwards at the top. It's this really sort of abstract type of art, not unlike what's in the hatch.
Mm-hmm.
I hope we can say.
Indeed, I have to agree.
So, but it's more mixed media than the other, because the other one was just pretty much regular paint, oil, or whatever type of paint it was.
Yeah, the Namaste thing reminded me, the way it was just sort of written on there, like that reminded me of like the numbers that were written on the hatch mural.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's an interesting little thing. So
I like that stuff. Like, when she said it's not the end of the world and then the microwave started beeping, I thought, oh no. It's all, like, everything's, like... I thought he was going to turn around and, like, see the hatch or something. Like, I thought it was... I don't know. I thought something really crazy was going to happen. But I really did like the microwave. Of the things that he sees in this thing, the microwave is probably my favorite.
It's definitely the scariest.
It was crazy. It was really
because it's creepy to have a microwave make that sound.
And I like the fact that the microwave was sort of older, so you would think that it actually might make that sound. Because that's not a sound any new microwave would ever make.
No.
And it was like an older microwave, so you're like, I guess it can make that sound.
It wasn't very insistent. It's not like it's ready sound. It just kept beeping.
It's like, hey, if you want the food, it's here. If not, no biggie.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it makes that beeping sound for like 3 minutes, and then it starts making like.
Oh god.
Yeah, and then if you don't get your stuff out of there in time, it explodes. It implodes upon itself.
The hieroglyphs come up on the readout, and then
another great Widmore product.
Oh, but I wanted to say about that sound. I feel like at least I've been like conditioned by hearing that sound so much. From season 2 that like when I hear it, it immediately triggers this response. Like I responded like sort of like Desmond did to hearing it. Like, it's such a, I don't know, it became such a familiar background sound that I don't know.
Something tells me that he's a little more conditioned after spending 3 years pressing the button.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
But
as much as I can be watching it, from the sideline.
Right.
Okay, so in this scene with the interview, we learn a couple things about Desmond's background. He did set design for the Royal Shakespeare Company, which is sort of interesting.
Which explains why he's unemployed.
Exactly. Oh, that's a good one.
Just, one artist to another.
Yeah.
So that's why he doesn't have a job.
And then, he lists no military experience, but if I remember correctly, he does eventually join the military, right?
Yes.
Eventually, but it sort of has to be after this.
Well, it has to be, literally.
Oh, yeah, it's after this.
So,
well, there's the creepy old woman in the store.
The timeline is kind of odd.
Well, it must be that right after this. I mean, they show him later seeing the sign for the Royal Scot Navy or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is weird that they have a recruitment poster for the Scottish Navy in a place in London.
Yeah.
Well,
I guess
Scotland
London. I guess England owns all that shit.
Yeah. It's he has to join and then disobey orders and then go to prison for like 2 years.
No,
and then get out
for 1 year. Because the old woman says in a doesn't she say in 2 or 3 years? She either says in 2 or 3 years, like he's gonna break Penny's heart, which leads him in 3 years to do the solo race around the world.
I thought they said in the season 2 finale that he was in jail for 2 years.
Well, then he wasn't in the military for very long before he got put into jail.
I guess so.
Which is my point.
My point was that it seems like he has a lot to do in a short amount of time, but whatever.
He's just not in the military for very long.
Yeah, he basically says breaking her heart is, of course, what drives you in a few short years from now to entering that selling race.
Okay.
So it doesn't say
flexibility
how many.
there.
Yeah.
So it's probably, at the least 2, at the most 4, maybe.
Yeah.
Any more than that, it's not a few, really. So we learn that, okay, and then, the father mentions the solar race, which sparks flashes, in his memory about that. I'm still confused on this solar race idea because, it wasn't a solar powered boat.
No, solo.
Oh, I always thought he was saying solar.
No. It's just because of the British accent.
I think that happened before.
Yeah.
I think there was some other episode where you thought they said solar and they said solo.
Yeah, no, I thought that before. Where when we saw Desmond's boat, I'm like, I thought it was like a solar boat.
Well, allow me, Claude, to suggest that an armada of Q-tips be dispatched to your ears forthwith.
An armada? That's a lot of Q-tips. I hope you're paying for those because I'm not.
Mr. Show, anybody?
I think you can buy a box of like 1,500 for like
$1.99.
Hey!
I don't
can't
know. Is that
afford
enough
it.
for an armada?
Can't afford
I
it.
don't know. How big is an armada? Another great question. So the interview.
Yes, the interview. I love how he goes. Whitmore goes over his resume. And he goes, well, I can find you a place in, administration. And Desmond goes, well, I'm not here to interview for a job. And I'm like, but you brought your resume and you let him go over it. Like, what are you doing? If you're here to ask for Penny, why did you waste the man's time talking about job stuff, dude?
Well, maybe his cover letter explained the position that he was applying for was,
was son-in-law. Nice.
Ooh.
And that means you didn't read it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think he just wanted to impress him or something.
About the solo
impress
race
him with
thing?
his nothing resume. His resume didn't have anything
if he wanted to impress
on
him,
it.
he could have considered lying on his resume.
Yeah.
But oh well.
It was just weird. It's like, is he just saying that like he didn't want a job, or did he really not want a job? I mean, he got dressed and seemed like he was going there to hopefully get a job, but then it's like, no, I don't want a job. I just want your daughter's hand in marriage.
I think he just thought that going in for a job interview would set up an opportunity for him to try to impress the father and to even get an appointment with the father.
Just to get an appointment. I'll buy that, to get an appointment with him.
Yeah, I think, that's the impression I got. But I wanted to say something about the solar race thing. Do they have one like every year? Is that what we're supposed to think? Or is he actually talking about the solar race that's going to happen in like 3 or 4 years?
I sort of thought that they were gearing up for it, and it just took them a while to do it. But I guess they could do it every year.
It seems like an ambitious project that would take a lot of planning. I could see it either way. I
was surprised he sort of knew about it. If he's referring to the same race, like that far back.
Yeah, and that when we first hear Desmond telling him about entering the race, it seems like, I don't know, it seems like it was the first one, like in that, because it seems like if you win one of the races, like who cares? But if you win the first one, then that could earn respect. But if if like you win, the 4th year that they have it, you win. Oh, great, whatever. 3 other people have already won, Desmond.
It seems like a really big deal to me.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it's not anything I would ever do, but obviously, it's fictional. But I don't know, it's kind of like climbing Everest. Even if you aren't the first person, like the first person obviously gets more glory, but
yeah. Well, but
climbing
I think
Everest still gives you a certain amount of bragging rights.
But I think it's more important. I think it's more important if Widmore sponsored a climbing Everest race and he won the first one, you know, then I sponsor this race and I won one of the I don't know.
The prize is my daughter's hand in marriage.
Exactly.
Oh God.
So Penny's already been married and divorced 3 times.
4 times, yeah.
Wow.
It's like a rental.
Yeah.
My daughter's hand in marriage for 1 year.
See how long you can.
I think it could go either way.
See how long you can stand being married to Penny. I dare you to stay married for a year. No one can do it.
She'll make you paint your apartment colors you don't even like.
She will move in with you, and will
bring her scary fucking microwave.
And then she'll pay for everything, and then she'll be really nice to you, and she'll even tie your tie. No one wants that.
Stop it!
I know, right?
How can anyone ever live up to that?
I can't listen to this.
I know, it's horrible. So Widmore says, you know what, Hume, you'll never be a great man. That's why you can't drink my whiskey. Because this is great whiskey.
You're a man who's not even worthy to share my whiskey.
Why would I give you my daughter, which is worth $1 more than this whiskey?
For 1 year.
Oh.
Because that whiskey had to be at least, what, like $80,000 or $100,000 or something?
Maybe he doesn't really think that Desmond would ever make very much money. Because he's an artist. Maybe that was the point. I don't know. I figure if Desmond made okay, whatever. We won't get into my math. I don't know. Like, how expensive is a really expensive whiskey? I mean, if it's 60 years, the thing is,
how much do you think Desmond would make in a month?
How much is like Johnny Walker Black or whatever the really expensive?
But the thing is, it's aged 60 years, so that makes it even crazier. I mean, I could see it being $50,000. You gotta be shitting me. No, who would drink a $50,000? Widmore.
Widmore, yeah, Charles Widmore, I guess. I can't even imagine.
Can't you though?
Anyway. What?
Can't you?
Can't I?
Yeah.
No, I can't.
Can you not imagine that whiskey would cost that much?
Yes, I can't imagine that anything could possibly, short of a really cheap house or a really nice car. Like, I can't imagine that anything you would consume would cost that much money. I mean, whatever.
It is aged 60 years, that is a lot. I would guess more like 10,000.
God, my
here's
God.
Here's I did a little research. The most expensive bottle of whiskey, according to this, which was in 2005, it says it's a 19th century bottle of Irish whiskey for 100,000 pounds. So whoa. I can see a 60-year-old bottle going for 50,000.
Yeah.
If it's really, really good.
Pounds?
Yeah, pounds, please.
Or quid.
Quid, if you will. I will.
Of course you will.
Okay, so, fine.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Do you think Widmore knew Desmond before he came in to any extent?
Yes.
Okay. How much?
I feel like he would have met him before. I mean, he's been dating Penny for 2 years. I feel like he would have. He at least knows of him. If they haven't met before, it seemed like they had met before. I mean, it didn't seem like they were strangers. So to what extent I don't know. I mean, I feel like he's been over there for Christmases and I seriously doubt that. And Saints Day or whatever.
He's a man who's not even worthy to share a whiskey, much less a Christmas dinner.
No. I'm sure if Penny's gonna come over for Christmas or Thanksgiving, they don't have Thanksgiving. Sorry.
Maybe we should explain to Luber, is that his name, what Thanksgiving is.
I think they all know.
I think they've heard of it.
Everyone laughs at us Americans for our silly holidays.
Really, because I don't actually think I know what Bastille Day is. No, I know what Bastille Day is.
Okay. So I just think if Penny goes home for holiday, then she would want to bring Desmond one of those times. So yeah, he wouldn't. I don't think he would object. He'd be like, whatever, He would just want to impress him with his nice mansion or whatever.
Oh, I don't think he cares about impressing Desmond, but I think
well, I mean, in terms of rubbing his face in his wealth, that's what I mean.
Okay, yeah. Not because like he holds his opinion in high esteem.
No.
But just because he enjoys making him, feel like miserable and jealous and
like
whatever.
like the dirty Scot he is.
The dirty Scot. Indeed, he's a dirty Scot. Oh man. Yeah. So anyway, what about that scene?
Okay, so we're done with the scene. And go to the next scene.
Okay.
Which has
the tie throwing scene.
Man, when I'm mad, I like to throw ties. That's all I gotta say. When I'm really pissed off, I take a tie out of my closet and I throw it to the ground like nobody's business.
Ooh, I'm gonna take everything out on you because it's all your fault.
And the tie's like, I didn't do anything wrong. I'm just a tie.
And he had to get his shirt nice and open for that Desmond look that we all wish we could have.
It's the windswept hair and the open shirt, dude. That's what it takes.
It does. No less.
If you don't have thick eyebrows, you got to have your shirt open. Maybe both.
Maybe both, but at the very least, one or the other.
I don't know if the censors would get that on the air though. An open shirt and big eyebrows.
Oh dear.
I don't know. So,
well, they did move to 10 p.m. So.
Oh, you're right. Different hour. The kids
maybe they can get away with that.
The kiddies are asleep now.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it was interesting that this little small focus on the tie, and I thought it was very reminiscent of Jin and his whole tie fiasco. When he went to go talk to Sun's father, it was a big deal about the tie and that sort of, being a symbol.
The guy ripping the tag off. Oh, man. God.
Oh, that's right. He didn't talk to Sun's father, but he was interviewing at some other
that
job.
was just, that was just some other guy. But he did have a scene like this, right?
Yeah,
before.
Exactly.
It's just that he agreed to work with, the father so he could marry the daughter. Desmond said, I don't want a job. I want to marry her. And he says, no.
No, I will give you the job. And I will let you continue to date Penny. How about that?
How about that?
It's like a bargain.
It would be funny if after that whole scene with the whiskey, he was like, well, can I still have the job?
Yeah, exactly. So how do we end on the job?
So you're still going to call human resources.
Resources.
Human resources, please. I thought it was interesting. The guy who plays Widmore is named Alan Dale. He's actually from New Zealand. But he's playing English.
Mm-hmm.
Not a big stretch, I guess.
No, just a slight change.
We're pissing off everyone.
We are. We're one continent at a time. Asia, you're next. It's a big one.
That's interesting. He reminds me of the guy from The Clockwork Orange.
Malcolm McDowell?
Yes.
Oh, I can see that.
Anyway.
Yeah, I can sort of see that.
So Desmond throws his tie down, he's all pissed, and then he sees Charlie, and he starts to remember what's going on, and it's sort of, things are culminating, and he sort of realizes what's going on, and of course Charlie has no idea what's going on, because, Charlie hasn't been on the island yet. But I love Charlie, we know from this scene that Charlie's always been an ass. Because he was saying, oh, I don't know if I know you, but if you put some money in my bucket, maybe I could remember. Maybe help me remember, buddy. It's like, you're such an ass.
We also learned that his middle name is Hieronymus.
Yeah, was that what that was?
Great. Yeah, Hieronymus.
Yikes, what a name.
It is a weird name.
Hieronymus.
Yeah. Netherlandish name.
What does that mean? Did anybody look that up?
Well, I don't think it means anything, but it's the name of Hieronymus Bosch. Which is...
It doesn't mean anything?
I don't think it means anything.
Don't all names have a meaning?
Well, I mean, I'm sure in the strictest sense, it means something, but I doubt what it means is significant.
Oh. Well, I mean, if you listen to our last podcast, we
yeah,
Alex means something very significant, and to a certain degree, Edmund too, but anyway,
right.
But yeah, it doesn't have to mean anything. So it starts raining. He sort of calls it it's going to rain, much like Locke did.
I might say.
Yeah, he pulled a Locke. One of the things at this point, what I realized was, and I don't know if you guys want to talk about this at the end or right now or what, but I want to get your explicit take on what's going on here. Because at this point I start to think that, if some explanations for time travel involve multiple universes, and this is the idea that he has his memory from his past, but then when he goes back in time, he really goes to an alternate universe, blah, blah, blah. Because it just, that's really the only explanation of how he can know these things and try to change things without having, to change the past.
Well, I should mention that I don't think he went back in time.
Yeah, okay. Well, is that what your theory is?
My theory would be that what's going on here is something along the lines of a little bit of maybe Mulholland Drive. Like, basically he's having this. I feel like this is going on in his mind, and it's sort of a combination of memories and, like, the fact that he's sort of imagining this, after all that stuff happens, and I also noted that he didn't specifically reference anything that occurred after, the failsafe key and all that. I feel like this is basically a sort of fantasy type thing, with where, anyway, that's how I interpret it. Like, I don't feel like he literally went back in time and actually lived those things. Like, okay. I think this is going on in his head.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's how I would get around any time travel issues that you might have, is just by saying I don't think this is time travel.
I tend to agree. I think it is mostly in his head, but I do want to point out how do you, and no, I guess let's save this for later because it's ripe for discussion. But we'll finish that later. What's
okay,
really
will you
remember?
Here?
I'll remember.
Okay.
Baby.
Just thought I'd ask.
The next scene we have Desmond talking to Donovan, who's this guy who just came out of the blue. And he's the resident expert out of the blue, made to order. Right. And he tells Donovan what's going on. Donovan doesn't believe him.
I'd like to just say, every time this happens and they consult the expert, they're never helpful.
No.
They, in real life, these people know things. They really do. But
but about
in movies,
things
they're
like
always
this,
like horrifically unhelpful.
Yeah.
They just show up to like say, "Oh, silly, it's nothing."
Yeah, but I think that has to do with the fact that usually the experts they consult, while they may be experts on something, are not really experts on. Just because you're a physicist doesn't mean that you're equipped to analyze someone thinking that they can see the future. I mean, you're a mathematician, hypothetically speaking. I walk up to you and say, like, I think I'm living the same day over and over again. Like, what do you think? I think that physicists aren't necessarily qualified to comment on whether or not it's possible that you're seeing the future.
I think if anybody, they are. I mean,
yeah,
who
but
else?
I don't think anybody is.
Well, I think there's certain aspects of physics that can say certain things are possible to happen and certain things aren't. I mean, they have, physicists have been able to prove that you can sort of, teleport things. They've been able to teleport.
What?
Yeah, they've been able to teleport particles from one area to another, which is, really high level physics, but they've been able to do it. So if someone is like, hey, I can teleport, and he comes to a physicist, he can say, well, they do research and they've shown that this is possible on a very small scale. So
are you seriously telling me that teleportation exists?
I'm seriously telling you that I read a scientific article that said these, and this was a couple of years ago, that these scientists, it had something to do with this. They basically had like these particles in this like enclosure, and then there's some sort of gas or something in there. And what happened? This is a tangent. What happened was the particle, particle A, it's sort of like its information and its properties would be, transferred and represented in a different place, somehow to do with this gas. So it wasn't like the thing just teleported specifically, but it was like effectively teleported.
Well, I have to say, as someone who grew up on The Next Generation, I'm fascinated by this, and I need to look into this more. But the point I'm trying to make is that I think the reason why often in movies and television the so-called experts aren't very helpful on certain issues, A, is just as a plot device, and B, because I think that they're often not really qualified to comment on what is actually going on because it's a little too supernatural.
Yeah, I'll buy that. I'll definitely buy that.
So, anyway.
So
Desmond
Desmond,
really matter,
Desmond hears the song, the Make Your Own Kind of Music song, and which, he played in the hatch all the time.
Right.
Yeah, and what I think is funny is that for the viewer, that song triggers this memory of the season 2 premiere.
Mm-hmm.
But for him, it triggers a memory of having been in that pub before, and there's like a soccer game on. Somebody, the team wins, it comes back from behind, and then some guy comes in and hits the bartender in the head with a mallet.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think that's funny because for him, I don't know. It's the memory that it triggers seems funny to me.
It made me think that the reason he sort of played the song in the hatch the first place was because he heard it several times in the pub.
Maybe he just likes the song.
And like maybe he went to that pub often and heard that song enough, so when he actually got into the hatch, he was sort of comforted the fact that he had the song to play that he liked.
Yeah, but let me present this suggestion. That even if you listen to the song every day for 3 years, if one day you were listening to it and someone blew up the door to this place where you were living by yourself and broke in, and subsequently what ensued was that this computer was broken, and then you ran off thinking that the world was going to end. Like, I
Is
think
this a hypothetical?
I think for me that's more significant than some team coming from behind and winning a game and then somebody coming in and hitting the bartender.
You have to look at it from the aspect of deja vu and the fact that he's feel like he's living these things. He's living this event again. I agree. Like, in general, it should trigger the most experience he's had with that song, which is being in the hatch. But what it triggers is a series of actions. Which is what sort of deja vu is. One thing happens and you sort of have this sense what the next thing is going to be. So to me, it makes sense the way it happened because he's, he gets this deja vu of being in the pub and the song plays and the team wins and the guy comes in.
There's this aspect of the setting as well. As
exactly.
I want to throw out, based on my interpretation, that I think that song plays because it's in his mind. And that song is in his mind from all the times he listened to it. I think there's a very good chance that he didn't necessarily hear that song at the pub in real life.
So you think the events that he relives? You think the events that he relives never actually happened?
Some of them. I definitely think some of them never happened.
Well, yeah, some of them probably.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think that they just didn't happen the way that they happened. Some of them just didn't happen the way they happened. Like the interchange with Charlie, the interchange obviously in the ring shop, and
yeah, they definitely didn't happen the way
in the ring shop couldn't have happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the going to get the chestnuts and this talk and whatnot.
Yeah, which we're going to soon, right now, actually.
I could believe that when he hears it the first time in the pub, it's because of the hatch, like it's in his head because he listened to it in the hatch. But he seems to have a clear recollection of this song being played in the pub, followed by an event that actually does happen. Like I believe that could have happened.
I mean, otherwise, any of the pub stuff is just sort of made up,
right?
Like I think the pub scene with the physicist didn't happen. Because I think the first time he lived it, he didn't have a reason to go track
he wouldn't. Yeah, exactly. He wouldn't have had a reason to go to the pub, and although maybe because they were best friends, he went to the pub. Because it seems like you don't see the conversation, the part of the conversation that precedes the physicist telling him that he's crazy to think this thing about the island. But he does make reference to the fact that that Desmond has told him about this meeting with Widmore. So maybe they went to the pub and talked about... I mean, if I went to ask for, my girlfriend's hand in marriage from her father, and her father just like totally insulted me, I might want to talk to my best friend about it.
You might want to consult a physicist.
Well, I mean, but he says, I'm not asking you as my best mate, but as a physicist.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think it could have been, after Widmore turns him down, he goes to, he goes
I'd want to get drunk.
He goes to meet his friend,
friend,
and they go and they talk about the penny thing. But now that he remembers this, has this event going on, instead of just talking about the penny thing, he talks about the other thing too. So I could see that.
Arguably more significant.
Yeah. So what else is significant is the next scene. Desmond comes home and he's talking to Penny, and it's all very lovey-dovey. And why do you love me? Because you're a good man. Oh God. And so we get another this good guy stuff that is very prevalent throughout this series.
Mm.
So the next scene, he goes to buy a ring from the one Miss Hawking, who always scares me anyway because she was in the others, and she's just a scary lady anyway.
Oh, she was in the others.
Yeah, she was like the main scary lady in the others.
I saw that on her IMDb thing, but what is the other? Is that a TV show?
No, that's Nicole Kidman movie.
Yeah, came out a few years ago.
I saw it.
Yeah, she. I guess I won't give away the plot.
Yeah, don't give away the plot.
It has a surprise ending.
Yeah.
I'll just put it that way.
Was she really dead all along?
Oh God. So the next. So this is probably the second most interesting thing in the whole episode. When, he's trying to buy the ring and she's, telling him about the ring, and then he goes, okay, I'll take it. And she's like, no, you won't. And he's like, wait, what's going on?
How is it that she suddenly turns from this kind of nice, sweet old woman into like the scariest person I've ever seen?
It's because, why it's even scarier is because you realize that whole, her first part of that scene, she's just pretending. She knows what's going on. She's playing a role.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She knows Desmond was going to come in. She knows he's going to talk about the ring, and she's doing what she's supposed to be doing. And that's why it's scary, because she has this like outside knowledge. It makes it even worse.
Also her eyes are really scary.
And also her face.
Yeah.
And also everything she does.
And her voice and just the way she speaks.
Yeah.
And the chestnuts were scary.
Is there anything scarier than a chestnut?
No. Besides Miss Hawking. So I guess the question that we should talk about is, who is she, and why does she know what's going on?
Well, I'll give my stock answer again.
I know what Justin's going to say.
I think this is in his mind, and so she knows because he knows.
Okay. Now, is she, later in the next scene, he says, you're just my conscience, my subconscious, and you're whatever. You're trying to, and this is when Desmond's theories don't pan out for me. But yeah, I agree.
But his attributions aren't totally correct, because he says, you're just my subconscious trying to convince me not to marry Penny.
Yeah, and
like, he thinks that he has a concussion from falling off the ladder. Yeah. And that this woman is just like this part of his head that's giving him second thoughts about proposing. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that's what it is at all. I think it is a figment of his imagination, but that she's not there the first time he lived it. She's only there when he's reliving it as he's kind of passed out after the explosion in the hatch. And that, I don't know if there's some island influence or if it's just all in his head, but this woman is revealing to him something about the nature of fate.
That's an interesting point that I never actually thought of, that this whole thing could be induced by the island. This could have just been one big dream induced by the island.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's definitely possible given the sorts of visions that the island...
The island is communicated in through dreams before.
Yes, definitely.
And it seems like when it does it usually does so in a significant way. Like,
and
it reveals
usually
something significant.
And it usually has a message about something, so...
Yeah.
It's very preachy. The island's very, very preachy.
I think, island's always got an agenda. I do think that she is just part of his psyche, and that she's trying to get him. basically what I think is going on, you know, what's weird about this whole thing is that it's not just cut and dry. Oh, he's imagining that he's reliving these things and he's imagining he can see the future, but really, you know, he's lived that before and he's just like making this up. But to me, the point is that A, he can see the future, and B, he can't change it. And that seems to be the point that she drives home, is that, you know, you can see the future, you know, but you won't be able to change it. Yeah. You know, forever at least. You know, and that seems to be the important part.
Yes. You know what I really hope? I hope that we see her again on the island.
That'd be weird.
I mean, I suppose in vision form, but I really hope we see her again.
I would like to see her again. She's a great actress. I sort of assume that she, you know, that lady was specifically sort of the one who sold him the ring.
Yeah, me too.
But
or he had second thoughts or whatever and left. And...
Yeah, exactly. She was the one at the store, but he didn't actually buy it.
Yeah.
But I would like to see her again. It would be interesting if she was on the island in real form, you know, and she's the island.
Yikes.
Well, Justin,
her name is Miss Island.
Yeah, you know, I think like some of the things she was saying, like about, you know, we're all gonna die and pushing the button was the only great thing you'll ever do, and like it just, the tone of it really struck me in a similar way to like Yemi talking to Echo in Question Mark when he says, you know, the work being done here is very important and you have to help John, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, just like the tone of like, this is really important and this is a great thing and like, you have to go do this. And I don't know, that it reminded me of that sort of. So I could see, I actually, when I was thinking earlier, I was thinking it was Desmond's vision alone. But I think the idea that the island is a part of this is pretty viable.
Thank you.
I definitely like. I'm pretty set on him not time traveling, but I could definitely be swayed to think the island is helping out or sending its little what it wants to tell Desmond through this, which might be this thing about seeing the future and not being able to change it. So. But I definitely want to talk about that. I think
we're almost done. We got a couple more scenes, and we can talk about the whole the thing in general.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, I love, he goes, who are you? And she's like, do you like chestnuts? Which, you know, is, that should be the line everybody uses forever. Like, at a pivotal point in a movie or something. And, who are you? What's going on here? Do you like chestnuts? It's totally disarming. It's like, well, yes, I do like chestnuts.
He's like,
like,
what?
You know, that's another thing that happens a lot. Someone asks some really pertinent question that you like to hear an answer to, and then they just sort of dodge the issue.
It's very Lynchian, and what's even crazier is that, you know, Desmond never asks her again. You know, it's okay. Now that you got your chestnuts, tell me who you are. You know,
he just sort of decides that he thinks that she's his
subconscious. I guess he thinks he does.
Yeah.
So.
Which I think he's right, by the way, pretty much. But or maybe it's the island. Anyway, never mind.
Well, what's weird is that he goes. Let me find the spot so I don't misquote him.
Is the transcript up?
Yeah, he goes. I've had a concussion. You're my subconscious. Am I? She says. I love that. And then he goes, "You're here to talk me out of marrying Penny. Well, it won't bloody work." And she goes, "Oh yes, it will," which is a weird thing to say. And then he goes, "No, there is no island, there is no button, it's madness. I love her, she loves me, I'm going to spend the rest of my life with her." And she's like, "No, you won't." Now, it's weird that he says there is no island when he was convinced a short while ago that there was an island, that Charlie was on there, that he was pushing a button, and that all this stuff. And so this is the first part where I got confused on what he's really going at here. That, you know, he was really convinced that there was an island, and now he's like, okay, there's not an island.
Yeah, I think it's the pub thing.
Yeah,
like
that was a turning
makes
point.
him. He's so sure of what's going to happen, and then it doesn't happen, and he's like, "Well, maybe I am just crazy. Maybe this is just some weird thing." What I think is really weird that's related to that is that later, when he's in the pub and what he thought would happen earlier in the pub happens, where they win the soccer game and then the guy hits, goes to hit the guy. He's like, I was right. I just had the wrong night. There's a chance.
Yeah.
But what that actually means for him is that there's not a chance. That his life is what he thinks. That he is going to end up on the island. That he's not going to marry Penny. That his life is going to follow this course that he
Now that I think about it, that's really weird. Because the thing that causes him, like, he goes to the pub and he's wrong about the future. And that is sort of, I think that's what motivates him to say, okay, maybe I'm just crazy. He goes to buy the ring, and he's going to actually buy the ring, which he probably didn't do originally. Mm-hmm. And then the woman's like, no, you can't, But at this point, he's like, I don't know. He's thinking, I can. This is my subconscious trying to like stop me or whatever, but it's not real, I think he's in his doubt stage at this point.
Yeah, but it doesn't make sense when this is what I was talking about earlier. When his conclusions don't really make any sense, because when he successfully predicts the future and it works that night when he has the right night, he goes, "I'm not crazy. I can still change things. I can still change it." Now, what is he talking about? He can still marry Penny and not get stuck on the island? Is that what he's saying?
Yeah, that's what doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Why does realizing that you were right, that you're reliving your past and that you're going to end up trapped on an island for 3 years pressing a button, why does that make you think that you can change your future?
Unless he's thinking...
Why is that optimistic? Like, for me, if I see that I was right about this is like a sock in the gut, and I'm like, oh my God.
That's what I was saying.
My life is going to be ruined
his conclusions don't make any sense. And
it seems sort of predetermined. And you know what else is really weird about that? The fact that that's the last scene before he wakes up in the jungle. Mm-hmm. And, it's only shortly, a couple days after that he's telling Charlie, you can't change it. Like, he thought, I can change it. And then he wakes up, oh, I can't. I guess maybe it's because he wakes up in the island that he says, I can't change it.
Well, and she told him, too, that you can't change things. That was the whole point when the guy with the red shoes died.
Right.
What I wanted to mention was very Wizard of Oz-like. With someone being under a pile of rubble with red shoes. And the whole thing about Wizard of Oz being a dream, too, I think is significant in terms of Desmond dreaming this or whatever sort of hallucination this is.
I didn't even catch that. I don't even remember that.
That's very interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah, well, that's what I do. I bring up some interesting things. So, yeah, I don't know. It's really confusing. Unless when he says, I can still change things, he's talking about something else. That I don't know.
I think that line just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. That line just doesn't work.
I'm not crazy. I can really see the future, and then he goes, I can change things, and unless he means he can, it seems like he means he can go marry Penny, but I don't know. I guess he's saying he can change things, but it won't be changed forever, right? I mean,
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, what I think is weird is that he coming to the realization that he can see the future should not also give him the idea that he can change the future. Mm-hmm. Because in actuality, it seems like the way that ought to play is that he says, I'm not crazy, I can see the future. Ms. Hawkins was right. I can see the future, but I can't change it.
Yeah, he didn't. It seems like he thinks since he can see what's going to happen, that he can actually do something about it. But he seems to be forgetting her point in that you can only change it for so long before the universe course corrects itself and does whatever it needs to do.
And maybe the only reason that he believes that by the time we get back to that current moment on the island when he's drunk is that he's seen what happened after he saved Charlie from the lightning. Then there was the drowning. Maybe that's when.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I think so. That you can't actually change it.
Right.
Well, the whole thing is weird. The whole dream thing is weird because if it is just a dream, then he doesn't have any actual ability to change anything because this is sort of taking place within a split second before he's knocked unconscious and wakes up. So this idea that he can change anything, doesn't really affect the real world at all because this isn't really happening and it never really did happen. So it's just a weird thing anyway, because it doesn't really mean anything.
Well, the only thing that it changes is how he's going to live his life on the island now that he can see the future, which I think is even more support for the fact that, or for the possibility that this might be an island-induced vision.
True, but it's like, if you can't change it, then what's the point of seeing the future if you can't change it?
Well, I think that's one of the big dilemmas about the idea of seeing the future, is that if you can really see the future, then can you change it? And what this is going with the idea that you can't change the future. And so I think that's...
Well, it's
this is what I was saying like 3 hours ago when we started this, was that, this idea that dealing with things like seeing the future has been difficult for writers and whatnot, because you have to either go in the camp that everything you do when you know the future changes the future, and that the future is something that's constantly in flux based on the things that you do, or that the future is fixed and that all you can do is predict it, but you can't actually have any influence on it.
Yeah, and it got me thinking, when she says, when he's like, why didn't you save the guy, the guy with the red shoes? And she says, well, if I saved him today, tomorrow he would have got hit by a taxi, and if I saved him from that, he would have whatever. And I think, I view this whole thing as sort of, and take a step back and look at time, and if it was the guy's, it was weird because she said, the idea that it was his time to die, his fate to die, but it wasn't specifically his fate to die by the the rocks and the building. That it was just sort of generally his fate to die in a general time frame, and that because you can't call it fate, right? I mean, because if she could have changed it, then it wasn't fate. Then you can only say it was fate for her to change it, if you're going from that perspective, Yeah. So it's basically like, to me, I think of it as, if the guy was going to die from the building crashing, right? But then you go save him, that was still part of it. It doesn't change the future. That was what was supposed to happen. Even though you sort of had the option, that was still what was supposed to happen.
They seem to be trying to have it both ways.
Yeah.
It's tricky. Like, I really want to talk about this whole flexible fate idea, because it's hard for me to even make sense of it. Like, is fate just about people dying, or like what events count as fate and what don't? Like
everything.
Like you were saying, like, it's not necessarily his fate to die on the scaffolding. Well, then that part of it isn't fate,
Yeah.
So, but his dying is, what I mean? It seems tricky to sort out what parts of things are fate. So, like,
well, it seems like you could say, it was Desmond. You could probably say it was Desmond's fate to get on the island, press the button. Now, whether he got there by doing the solo race or he got there by some other means, that part isn't necessarily fate. You know what I mean? It's up, you might not be able to say it was his fate to get there specifically during the sailing race.
So it's just like general things that can be fate, not like specific things. Is that like?
Well, it seems like if it can be changed, then it can't be part of it. Like the idea is that you can't change the fact that the guy was going to die. You can only change the fact when he's going to die and how. So it was fate that he was going to die, but not specifically.
I don't see why you can't change Desmond going to the island.
Well, you could. I'm just using that as hypothetical.
He's fated to go to the island.
But that's the thing. You can only change when.
It sounds like he's also fated to do the solo race.
That
there are certain things that are fate in the.
I just find fate to be problematic in general, and then when you start saying fate is a little flexible. It this is fated to happen, but it's just sort of a general thing that's fated to happen. Like that.
Well, I'm just using their context, because I mean that's what she said.
No, I know.
Yeah,
I'm not saying this is your theory. I'm just like I don't understand it very well. Like I what I'm saying is like what they're doing I think is problematic.
Yeah. To
like actually deal with like fate is this like strangely selective thing that it's picked specific things and they have to happen, but other stuff it doesn't care about. I don't know. I find that a bit odd for fate to do.
Well, she makes that comment about what did she say about? You don't do it. You don't do it because you choose to do it. You do it because you're supposed to do it, which made me think, in this context of this sort of picky fate, that there's this balance between free will and fate, and that most things you sort of get to choose what you do, and then there's a small percentage of things like Desmond being on the island and like this guy dying, the red shoe guy dying, that he doesn't have a choice of what if he's going to die or not. That's just his fate. So maybe that's what they're getting at, is this idea of this sort of balance between free will and fate.
But if something is fated to happen, then certain other things are going to happen to make that happen. How much control can you have and still keep free will going? It depends on how many fated things you have going on at the same time that you need to arrange to also allow for free will. It just seems kind of tricky.
Well, yeah.
Well, the funny thing is that classically speaking, the free will versus predestination argument has never left room for some of each. Like, no one who's seriously interested in the debate between free will and predestination thinks that. Yeah,
that it's either one or the other.
Yeah, it's one way or the other.
So maybe I just
room for a compromise.
Maybe I just came up with a new way of living. That's cool. Here in the last Lowdown, we come up with new theories for you.
I think they want the what's the word? They want the drama of fate and the drama of free will.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They want it both ways, and it's just really difficult.
Well,
because things being fated, that's a really dramatic thing. But then if everything's fated, it's well, who cares? It's all going to happen some specific way. So you have to allow for some changes and. Yeah, so they went with this hybrid thing. It's kind of odd.
Well, that's just my interpretation of what's going on. I don't know what they have in mind, but because they're specifically going on the fate aspect of it. But like I'm saying, for it to make sense for me, you have to throw in some free will in there, because like you said, it's well, everything can't be fated because you can change when he dies. So I guess that's what they're going for. They can that you can intervene, and maybe that's the thing. Maybe the free will only comes into real impact when you can see what's going to happen and you can change it.
Well, I think it's interesting that the show has so many aspects about it that have these religious references, and it really that there are all these kind of religious undertones. And that they're now getting into this. There was this brief mention of free will in the premiere of this season, but that they're at this point where they're kind of skirting around this question of, all through the first and second episode, there was this whole issue of destiny and all this, and now they're really talking in a more overt way about the ideas of free will and predestination, and I don't know. I think it's interesting because it has always been one of the core religious debates. But anyway, So I think they want to have it both ways, and I think that's good because it's good in a way because it's kind of the only way that they can make this story work.
It's good for them for the story. It's well, if Desmond can see the future and change it. Too many things are going to have to change. So, but we want him to see the future. So let's see. He can see the future, but he can't really change it. How about that?
Yeah, it's kind of a convenient out.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all kinds of weird.
Because when they first revealed that Desmond could see the future, my immediate thought was worry about how they were going to handle plots and stuff in the future, and because once you bring that in. It's either crappy because they don't address man, he should be helping out a lot more.
Yeah.
Okay, here's my prediction. Soon he will get hit in the head with a coconut and no longer be able to see the future.
Nice. And then Gilligan's gonna say, "Oh, I'm sorry."
Yeah, and then Claire's gonna start picking up radio signals with a filling in her tooth.
Nice.
I can't believe the professor could build a radio, but they couldn't fix the... Oh, God.
Yeah.
Couldn't fix the boat.
My whole thing with Desmond is that it seems like what happened to him with the implosion and this idea of space and with it time, or I should say time and with it space, that the creators seem to be going towards. It seems like basically what happened is that he sort of, very quickly relived all the past events in his life and then sort of got a glimpse of all the future events in his life. And I think that's really interesting, and I think that's how he's able to tell the future. Not that he can specifically see what's going to happen, but that he has a memory of what's going to happen in the future. It's like a future memory, and it hits him like any sort of memory.
The problem with that is that if that were really the case, that when he was unconscious after the explosion of the hatch, he saw the future and now he sees glimpses of it, is that he could only have seen Charlie's death in one way at that one time. Whereas if he is experiencing flashes of the future kind of as he goes along, then that allows for the possibility that one day he could see the flash of the electrocution and the lightning storm, and then the next day he could see a flash of the drowning. The way I think it actually happened, and I think that they try to reinforce this by showing this, by re-showing the moment right before he flips the failsafe, where he says, "I love you, Benny." Just so lame. But anyway, that what we see, I think that what they want us to think is that what the viewer sees in this episode is exactly what he saw when he was unconscious after the explosion.
Well, he specifically says he saw Charlie getting electrocuted and he saw Charlie drowning, which makes me think he's got this future memory. You know what I mean? It's not like he's just getting a glimpse of it, but it seems like he was standing there when it happened. That's my take on it. That he was actually it's like this idea of he just sort of went through the future, and whatever actions and consequences and events happened, in relationship to him, he got glimpses. He sort of lived those very quickly, and now he's got these fragmented memories of that. That's the way I'm taking it.
He couldn't have lived a future where Charlie got electrocuted and where Charlie drowned.
Yeah, I mean, the only way that works is if he actually saw all the future possibilities.
Yeah, or he lived through all possible futures. Which would be really crazy.
Well, he could have lived through. Well, that's the thing. Well, I guess that is weird. I mean, he lives through Charlie getting electrocuted, so he prevents that, and then he sees. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit of both.
That's why I feel like he's still, and like the way it plays, in the scenes where it happens, it seems like he's getting a flash. Like, I guess it could be a memory, but it seems more like he's getting a glimpse of the future. The
only difference is, well, I mean, he has to get do you think that his glimpses of the future are outside of himself? Like, he can see something that happens and he's not around to actually witness it?
Possibly not. I mean, it could be a glimpse of a future that would happen, if he didn't take action. That he would, from his perspective. I can believe it's that what he sees is from his perspective. Possibly.
See, and he goes, when I turned the key, my life flashed before my eyes, and I was back in the jungle, and those flashes, they didn't stop. He's still getting flashes of his life. That's why it seems to me he's getting these future memories, because he's still getting these flashes of his life.
See, I thought the same thing, but I think it's problematic in terms of what's happened.
I don't think
poorly written line.
Yeah, I don't think that negates.
Too reductive.
I don't think that negates what's going on just because it's problematic. There's other problematic things on the show. I mean, I guess you just have to take a stance on what you think is really going on. And my thought is that he's basically has glimpses of the future because he's lived it already.
Yeah, I actually like that better than Psychic Desmond. More like
it's sort of more real world.
Privileged access Desmond. Yeah, like he he just happens to know a little more, like, about what's going to happen to him. Like, it's not like some general knowledge
exactly.
of, in China, there's a man and he's going to, like, it's not some kind of, like, a lot of people who claim to see the future see these, like, big, things that they weren't there for. And, I agree. It seems sort of more realistic. It's just the first thing that occurred to me is, I couldn't reconcile him having a future where Charlie dies in 2 ways.
Well, but that's the thing. Like, if he is this sort of like future memory Desmond, then and then if he saves them, then how would they write that he saves them the second time? I mean, they would just basically have to do it and be like, yeah, it's problematic, but I just don't see the 2 deaths of Charlie negating that idea. It makes it less what's the word? Sound, but I don't think it negates it completely.
Yeah, you're right. It could still be, like, in the mind of the writers, the case, even though there's a logical problem. Yeah. I guess I'm gonna agree with you since he specifically states that's what's happening.
How about this? Oh, well, continue to agree with me.
Go ahead.
No, continue to agree with me. But I was gonna say maybe what he does is he. Oh, did that make? I was gonna say in the future he sees Charlie drown, and then he sees himself change it, which somehow lets him see Charlie. No, I'm sorry. He sees Charlie get electrocuted, but then he somehow sees himself change it. Then he sees. Okay, never mind.
See, okay.
I don't think that makes any sense.
Can I throw out an alternative?
No.
To both?
Please.
How about the flashes didn't necessarily, like, when he says the flashes kept going, maybe he means he just gets flashes from time to time.
Yes, this is what I
That's
think
what I mean. Means. Yeah.
But I think...
But see, what it seemed like, I thought what you were saying is everything he knows, he got, like, immediately after the key thing happened. Like, when his life flashed before his eyes, he saw everything at once. Boom, it was done. As opposed to, like, everything up to now, and then he keeps getting these visions.
Well, no, I think the flashes that he's getting now are the memories that he did sort of live the future, but he doesn't have any experience of doing that.
I think that nothing in the way that the episode is written should lead us to believe that he, in that moment of his life, quote, flashing before him, that he experienced the future as well. I think that line is just constructed in a strange way to try to be more dramatic, and that what is actually happening is that this portion of his life, about this specific kind of moment with Penny, flashed before his eyes, and then something crazy happened to him, and now he periodically sees flashes of the future as the future relates to him. Like, we have no reason to think that he's seeing a future that has to do with anything other than...
The only reason I think that is because it explains why he's seeing the future. I mean, otherwise he's just sort of randomly psychic.
Does it explain why he's seeing the future any better than...
It does. It totally explains it.
I mean, they're both completely implausible.
Well, yeah, but it's more plausible that he knows what's going to happen because he's already lived it than versus he knows what's going to happen just because of no apparent reason.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I think that it's just such an implausible sort of thing to think about anyway. I mean, if you want to pull out some
it is a TV show
theory kind of option for an explanation, then the reason that he's seeing the future is because there are an infinite number of realities in which an infinite number of possibilities are being played out, and he just, randomly gets a glimpse of that or something. Like,
well, that doesn't explain why, though. That doesn't explain why he gets a glimpse of it.
Yeah, but I think that you can't really apply too much logic to something like this because it's.
Well, I disagree. I think there's a certain amount of logic you can apply, and I think there has to be a reason from a writing standpoint. The writers know why Desmond can see the future, and
okay,
I think
we'll see.
Yeah, and I'm sure they know why he can see the future. I think there's a very specific thing that happened to him when he turned the fail-safe, and I think they're really pointing towards this idea of time and alternate time and all this other stuff, and I think it makes sense that not only did he see his past life before his eyes, but he saw his future life before his eyes. And he's getting these flashes, which are memories, and I like that idea because I don't think it's been sort of shown before. So
I think maybe what what should be noted here is, there's this idea of, whenever you watch some form of entertainment in which something supernatural happens, you have to accept the possibility of supernatural to go along with the story, but there's still sort of an internal consistent logic that you can expect it to satisfy, even if, what it's about, is something that's sort of impossible. That doesn't mean they can get away with totally being illogical about it just because, this wouldn't happen, so who cares what we do? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
I think they try to do things logically as much they can until but they're dabbling in the realm of science fiction and fantasy anyway. So to a point you can it's just like, well, they're just writing a story, but I don't know. That's just where I stand. We'll see. We'll see the other things too, because like that's sort of what I thought the first time he had the Flash when he was talking about Locke's speech. Just the way he described it seems like. He was standing there listening to it. Not that he saw Locke speaking, but that he actually has a memory, and that's the way it actually presented itself, was a memory. He was like, yeah, when Locke gave his speech, he was like remembering the speech that had yet to happen. So that's when that idea of this like future memory first went into my head. But
and he didn't even seem to know that it was the future.
Exactly. He just thinks it's the memory that happened. He doesn't, it's not like, oh, this is a future time. He just sort of has this memory. And he doesn't know that it's from the future. He
stated it, as if it had occurred.
Yeah.
I mean, I prefer that idea because I think it's more interesting. I just don't think that's where they're going.
Well, we'll see.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay. Yeah, I barely know what I think. The fact that he said his life flashed before his eyes makes me think I'll sort of go with that for now, since there's a character stating it, even though characters can be wrong, But yeah, I'm gonna go with that for now on future notes. But I have to say, I'm disappointed. One of the things that disappointed me about this episode is that I wanted to know a lot more, or at the very least a little more, about what happened when he turned the key. And I guess we found out what happened to Desmond, but it's still 100% unclear to me what happened when they turned the key.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was weird how some things survived, like the picture survived, very, undamaged.
Weird
like
or absurd.
The dartboard was like broken and it looked sort of like burned or something, and then like it was like, first of all, like if something implodes, like it should have taken like every object with it,
Every object in person.
Yeah.
But it ejected the three of them. I mean, there's something weird going on already.
Yeah. It seems to be like not a normal just physical implosion, that the island had something to do with it. The island sort of like decided what it was gonna keep and what it was gonna eject. I don't know, but
yeah. Like that's the thing. I want to know more about that. Like that's what I've been wondering for a while. Like it just, to me, it became matter of fact, like further instructions. Well, he had this vision and then he woke up and he was naked. The end. Like it didn't, Locke wasn't naked when he woke up. Like
it seemed to be some sort of proximity to where the implosion. And it like I said before during that episode, it sort of made me feel like that anything non-biological got sort of sucked in. Like 99% of non-biological things got sucked in, and it took his clothes because he was closest to the thing, and that it didn't take anyone else's clothes because they were sort of further away. Right. The same way other objects that were further away from the focal point were still there. So that's sort of where I am on that, is that it was this sort of discriminating implosion where if you were alive, carbon based, I guess, or something, that it didn't take you.
But I mean, an implosion that has the ability to transport someone, I mean, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, well, we're on the island.
And I don't know. I really was hoping you want to know what happened to me, and I guess we found out, but I was just hoping it would reveal more about what happened in general. So
yeah, see, that's the thing. Desmond doesn't know what happened outside of what we saw. So
yeah,
that's all we get.
I thought he might, but he doesn't.
Yeah. I would be very surprised if we see a clarification about what happened when the hatch blew up.
I would be mildly surprised, but I would still be surprised.
I don't
Justin?
know where I stand.
Yeah, how surprised would you be?
I think they're gonna address it. I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't satisfactory.
Yeah, they'll address it when they address what happened to Jack's dad's body.
Yeah, it's like I don't think at this point, I don't think it's ever going to matter what happened during the explosion. You know, it's never going to really matter. Just like it doesn't really matter what happened to Jack's body, at least at this point.
I would really like to see them try to explain what happened with the hatch, and that's a big part of why I don't think it's going to happen. Because like, how do you explain? Yeah,
and who's to explain it? From whose vantage point are we going to see what happened? I mean, anyone else would have sort of been unconscious around the time, and no one was there to sort of scientifically say, well, this is going on and that's going on, and you know, like at the best they could have some outside person, like maybe Ben, if he knows what's going on,
eye patch guy,
who says, well, you know, I don't know what happened, but Dharma claimed that this would have happened if you turned the failsafe, or it was theorized that this would have happened. And that, to me, that's the best we'll get, is some sort of explanation like that.
Yeah, I think you're right. But then that doesn't bode well for finding out about the smoke monster either.
No.
Because who's going to know about the smoke monster?
Well, there could be someone who created it, or someone who, you know, who found that information.
Basically the same kind of thing, some kind of privileged person who knows.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I guess so. It never occurred to me. I guess I had this impression that if they just investigate enough, they'll figure it out. You know?
God, I could see Saeed with his little tools and like, well, the radiological evidence states that this place was in a temporal flux for 3.5 milliseconds. Yeah, no, it's not going to happen. I just want to quickly go over a couple of the scenes we didn't talk about. I just want to just read what I have. Great. I feel like we covered them. The only sort of things we missed was Desmond seeing the Royal Scots Army sign, blah blah blah. Yeah. The next scene is when he and Penny are taking a stroll and they take the infamous picture.
I'm really amused by that.
Which I love when he's like, how about the Alps? And she's like, I hate the Alps. And I'm like, who hates the Alps? Like, how do you hate the Alps? Like, I mean, you can maybe like be, you know, indifferent to them, but how do you actively hate them? I don't know.
Oh, maybe she went there when she was a kid and she almost died or something.
Well, whose fault is that? The Alps?
Yes, she blames the Alps.
And I thought it was weird. He has this whole logic about that he can look after Penny. He's like, I can't do this relationship. She's like, what are you talking about? He's like, I can't look after you. I haven't got a job. I haven't any blah, 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 you know. But it seems like he's saying that'll all be remedied if I can win this race. Like, you know, if I can go in this race, it'll all be fine. But it's like, yeah, that doesn't really make any sense, Desmond. You know, like, what do you think you're giving up by turning down Penny? Like, you know, what is supposed to be his plan at this point?
Yeah, his plan is not. I mean, he could just say something along the lines of, "I'm not good enough for you, but I've decided. You know, I'm gonna do something great. I'm gonna join the Royal Scot Navy or whatever, and then I'm gonna whatever."
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like if he would just take the job from the father, he would have some money and he can contribute to what's going, you know.
It plays like this really kind of archetypical...
Yeah, it was like faux drama.
Yeah.
It was frama.
Oh, bringing it back.
I brought it back for the 07.
Nice.
Yes, I brought it back.
Nice.
It was frama.
Yeah, this scene is really trite, and it doesn't make that
old
much
school
sense.
fans.
Old school fans know what we're talking about. Nice.
Wow.
All right, sorry, I had to bring it back.
You referenced it on the last one.
Well, then the new school fans know what we're talking about too.
Well, the old school fans will appreciate it more because that goes way back.
Yeah, that's pretty far back. All right, and then the other scene I don't think we talked about. Let's see, blah blah blah. Oh yeah, that's the other part when he goes. You know, after when we see him waking up naked after the implosion, he goes, "Let me go back. I'll do it right this time. I'll change it." Change what? What are you gonna do? You're gonna marry Penny instead of going on the thing? I mean, I guess that's what he's saying. But I don't know why he feels like that's doing it right when this idea of he's destined to go on the island, that's what's right. That's the thing you're supposed to be doing. But he's like, let me go back. I'll do it right. I'll change it. It's like, I don't get what they're trying to do with that. It seems like they're just saying stuff, and we're supposed to think it's important and interesting, but it doesn't really
just
add up.
It was supposed to be dramatic, I think.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, let me try again. Give
me another chance.
Yeah.
But another chance to do what? Nothing happened differently. So,
another
things
chance
happen.
to not break up with Penny and join the army.
Another chance to do things the way they were supposed to be done in the first place, which is the way they were done.
Which is the way that they will always be done.
Exactly.
You can't ever really change the major things about your life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
Brittany?
a line that would have made sense if the episode hadn't been, if it hadn't had some of the other stuff it had, about all that.
Yeah, if the sort of walkaway moral is that you can't really change anything about your fate.
Yeah, like, if they didn't have all that scene about how Desmond is supposed to do all this stuff, and this is the great thing you're going to do, and, just in general, I could see, some movie or whatever where someone says that. Let me go back, I'll do it.
But that would mean that instead of getting stuck on the island, he wants to go back and marry Penny like he should have done, and then they could have lived which would have made sense, but we know, that's not what he was supposed to do, and
right.
So, then the last scene, we have the sort of flash forward, and we see they revisit the Charlie and Desmond fighting scene, and then he basically tells them, you
previously
can't
on Lost Part 2.
Yeah, you can't change it, Charlie. You're gonna die. So that's the end of the show.
That's the dramatic ending.
That's the way the episode ends.
Yeah. Which, I thought it was interesting, like, this idea that the universe wants Charlie dead. I'm like, wow, finally, the universe got it right.
The universe and I finally agree on something.
The universe and I finally agree.
Oh, God, that's funny. So, I have to ask you, do you think Charlie's really going to die?
Yes, I think eventually Charlie will die. I think he's going to... Well... Look at that.
Tomorrow he's going to fall in the shower and break his neck.
I mean, do you think soon? Or do you think by the end of the season?
I think by the end of the season, man. Okay. I don't see how Desmond can keeping him alive for too much longer.
Why would he want to when he's clearly such a dick?
And it's at a certain point, it's like, I feel like at this point, Desmond should have resigned himself to not trying to save Charlie because he understands it's futile. And it's like, it is sad when, like, if you... I mean, this hasn't happened to me, but to realize that the universe wants someone dead.
It doesn't happen to you?
It hasn't happened to me yet, but it must be sad to realize, like, oh God, this person's gonna die, and maybe I can do something. But then they realize you really can't do anything about it. It's like, well,
it's probably sadder for the person who's gonna die.
And I think it's kind of it's along the same lines as, like, when someone dies and a religious person says, God wanted it that way, and it was your time, and God called you to heaven or whatever, and it seems to be sort of the same thing. There's this sort of innate comfort in this idea that, well, that's just what the universe wants, and it's sort of, at least in terms of the universe, sort of indiscriminately, wants it. It's not like it's trying to be mean. It's just, hey, it's just your time to die.
Like when God wants you dead.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's a different one. Yeah, when God wants you dead, it's personal.
Well, I think that one of the significant differences is that people who are inclined to think that it's their time to go because, like, God has whatever, at least probably think that they're going to somewhere.
Yeah.
As opposed to just, like, the universe wants me dead. That's it. I don't know.
I can't believe the universe wants Charlie dead. That's just so...
Can't you, though?
So predictable.
Yeah, I don't know. It's too easy. But it just seems odd that the universe would care about such a trifle character.
It's like, hey, universe, take Hurley with you.
Oh,
nice. No.
That's not Kylie and.
That's the thing. I don't think the universe wants Charlie dead in any, like, discriminatory way. You know what I mean? It's just like
it's just his time to go.
It's just his time to go, and it's
like
not like the universe.
Guy. Yeah, he's just fated to die.
Yeah, but that's odd, What does that even mean then? If it's not someone, wanting...
But people who don't deserve to die all the time.
What does it mean to deserve to die? It's just his time to go. Like, I don't even understand that.
It's fate.
Basically, it means that Charlie was going to be electrocuted. And that was it. That was supposed to be that. It was supposed to be, a freak accident. and it wasn't supposed to be any big deal. But now that Desmond can see the future, it's a big deal that Charlie's going to die.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, but before it would have just been like when Joanna died. You know, it's like, oh, she died. Okay, well, no big deal in a general sense. And
people die, especially when
and then but if someone would have saved Joanna and it had been about prolonging her life, it would have seemed like this big deal, you know, because someone saw the future. So I think that's what it is. It's not like there's any big deal and there's like it's Charlie specifically. It's just like he's supposed to die, and now that he's not, you know what? The whole thing is really like Final Destination.
I was about to say Final Destination.
Wow. It's exactly the same premise. Like
they're all just destined to die.
Yeah, and then they didn't die, so Death tries to find these alternative ways of killing them.
Franchise right there.
You know what? Those movies were pretty good. I mean,
I never saw a single one of them, but I think there's been like 3, right?
There's 3.
Yeah.
And they get increasingly gruesome, but I thought they were all pretty well done and fairly interesting. I mean, the first one's probably the best, but check them out if you haven't seen it. Next on Claude's Movie Corner.
Are they actually scary, or are they just
they're just suspenseful. They're not like scary. They're just really suspenseful.
They look. I have to say, Claude, they look pretty shitty.
No, they're fairly cheesy and like, you know, they're just your average like teen suspense kind of horror movie thing. But I think they're interesting. I mean, for movies like that.
All right. Well, I mean, the idea. Yeah. I mean, it's really pretty surprising that Charlie has made it this long, considering his drug addiction. The fact that he survived a plane crash.
Yeah.
And he's pretty ill-suited compared to some of the other people on the island. He seems pretty ill-suited to survive.
Take a hint, Charlie.
Yeah, I mean...
He survived being hung up by the neck, too.
Yeah, he never should have survived that. He almost died. His real-life fiancé almost just let him die.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, it's so beautiful that the two of them found love. By the way, I just that's what fate had in store for them.
Yeah, surely.
According to Us Magazine, Us Weekly.
No, I didn't know it was a quote. Lovely.
No, it wasn't actually a quote. But according to a magazine that I saw at the drugstore, they're getting married this summer. So
wait, who's getting married?
Dominic Monaghan and Kate in real life.
Yeah, in like real life, right?
Yeah.
They're such a weird couple. Yeah. They just don't look.
They are.
She should be marrying Jack or Sawyer.
Those are your only choices.
Those are your only choices.
They're both already married, actually, in real life.
So what? Move to Utah. Marry somebody.
I'm told that Sawyer is married to a pudgy little Filipino woman.
You know, I think I've seen her, and I'm like, wow, you could do better. But I think they probably were
to the wife or to Sawyer.
No, Sawyer could do better.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I sort of it's so mean to say, but I sort of assume that they got together before he's like famous.
That's terrible. That's really mean. I'm gonna tell her you said that.
Cool. Tell her. Yeah, you go tell her I said that, and then also cry. tell her I like her husband on the show a lot. If you're gonna go talk to her.
Yeah, that's really sad. I don't know.
Whatever. It's fine. I bet she's a really nice person.
Oh, I'm sure she's hilarious.
I didn't say she was funny.
I'm sure she's got a great personality.
Yeah. So we're through with the recap of the episode, right?
Clearly.
Yeah, just that way. We've delved into the personal lives of the actors.
Yeah, I forgot about that. So is there any big things we need to talk about? Justin, you said something, and I said I was going to remember it, and it had something that you had something to say, and then I was going to ask you, how does that relate to him seeing the future, because it didn't seem like it correlated, but
I feel like we talked about what I was referring to, but I don't remember.
And I feel like your stance now is that what's your stance on what happened and what's happening to Desmond
in terms of why he can see the future?
Yeah, really quickly.
I guess my stance is that he turned the key, his life flashed before his eyes, and I guess I'm gonna say he also saw what was going to happen, and he also saw what would happen if he saw what was going to happen.
Oh dear.
Oh, all right. That's interesting. Well, my stance is that he just saw he basically effectively lived his entire life, and now he's getting memories from the future, from events in the future. And he didn't specifically see Charlie die. I think it's just problematic that he would have had to see Charlie die twice. But I think it's one of those things where it's like, the model that you create explains most things except for like this one thing.
Yeah.
So I think that's where I'm standing. That this model to me makes sense and explains most things, but the Charlie thing, it just doesn't explain well. So it's just an outlier.
Yeah.
And Jennifer,
you know what I might want to go with? He gets the flashes didn't all occur then. Maybe he just gets periodic flashes, and they adjust to whatever's going to happen at the time he gets them.
But then, are you still? Because that's my theory.
But that still means he saw
everything. Are you
everything.
still thinking that he saw his future when he was, right after the failsafe?
Yes.
Basically, you're in the camp that he just has clairvoyant powers, or you're in the camp that he's remembering the future.
I'm flip-flopping
he's
as we
trying
speak.
to float through both of them. He's trying to say that he saw the future, but okay, so he saw the future, and now that he's living the present, he's getting flashes of the future past.
On the night betwixt tomorrow.
Yes. Oh dear.
I'm having trouble. I don't know. I'm having a hard time accepting your model because of that problem.
Mr. New Year's resolution. Just do what you think
it's creating.
Yeah,
just do what you think they want you to do.
They want you to.
I'm having cognitive dissonance. Dissonance. Oh God. I don't know what I think is the obvious thing, and that's my problem.
That is your problem.
I can't determine what that is, and so I'm having to sort of choose arbitrarily.
Yeah.
So you know what? Right now I'll go with undecided.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with saying he just has clairvoyant powers. The psychic, Claire's psychic seemed to have clairvoyant powers, or maybe not. I don't know.
But I think it's clairvoyant powers in the manner he describes, where he's seeing memories that of what will occur, not sort of a general clairvoyance.
Clairvoyance.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. So basically, he's remembering the future.
Yes.
Because I mean, if you think about it, it's really not a psychic power. If you go to the future and live, however many events, and you come back and you remember those events, I mean, that's not a power.
It's supernatural.
Well, the supernatural part is how you were able to time travel, not that you actually remembered it, because that's just a function of your brain is remembering events.
I agree. I mean, it's still, I guess, it's still, there's still something to, it's not quite realistic yet, but yeah, it isn't clairvoyance. And I still don't think it's clairvoyance. I don't know how well, like, I feel like it's something like you described, but it sort of comes to him from time to time.
Yeah, I mean, that's my point, is that he lived the future events, but he doesn't have any recollection of them whatsoever. And then these flashes are the memories that just sort of arbitrarily come to him.
Maybe the memories like correct themselves depending on, how things have played out so far.
See, no, I'm getting a deja vu.
I need to stop doing this.
Ago.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to resolve that issue, and
right.
I guess I'm getting really hung up on it.
Your time is up anyway, Jennifer, and you basically just say that he just has clairvoyant powers.
Yeah, I think that he periodically sees events from the future, but that the future is specifically like the future of things related to him.
He hasn't lived those things, but they're just sort of related to him.
Right. He hasn't lived these experiences. He just gets these kinds of clairvoyant moments, but that all of the moments that he experiences have to do somehow with his life. Like, he's not going to see visions of things, in other parts of the world or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And if some random person walked up to him, he couldn't be like the psychic and say, "You're gonna have a baby." And
right? No, I don't think he's totally psychic, and I don't think you know.
So you basically give him limited clairvoyant powers. They're only limited to him.
Yeah, they're limited to things within his realm of or his sphere of influence or whatever.
Okay.
Like the people he knows and the places that he that he occupies.
Yeah, that sounds really likely. Okay. Let's move on. Just kidding.
So what's your final stance?
I already said my stance twice.
Oh, okay.
My stance is that
it just seemed like I don't know.
No, yeah, my stance is that he turned the key. It's this idea of like he was sort of that everything that had ever happened to him before or would ever happen, he experienced in a flash of a second, and now he's getting these basically I call them memories of what happens, but it just so happens it's memory of something that hadn't happened yet.
Okay. I think that's very consistent with the line at the end, And that tugs me towards that.
I just like the idea of your life flashes before your eyes, but what happens if those flashes, are events that haven't happened yet?
Right.
Yeah. Someone's on top of the fence.
Oh, I wish I could take a stand. But
okay, well, I guess we'll wrap up the show. Or no, I guess there's Justin, you have anything you want to talk about, like forum stuff or anything interesting on the official podcast?
No, not really much interesting on the official podcast, although I do recommend that you listen to it. Shall we talk about next week on Lost?
Yes, I guess we should talk about next week on Lost, which I sort of forgot.
That's great.
Yeah, I'm really excited about next week's episode. I definitely find the other stuff, as much as I've read complaining about it, I think it's been the best stuff this season by far.
So 3 of the biggest island mysteries, one of which is most likely and unfortunately Jack's tattoos, will be addressed next week, according to the preview at least.
Yeah, I think it's going to be... I forgot now. I think it's going to be Jack's tattoo. It's going to be what happened to Cindy and what happened to the kids. That might be the same one, though.
I think it's going to be why they want the kids, what they're doing with the adults, and his tattoos. Which I have to say, I really don't find to be that big of a mystery.
I think they're going to make it a mystery. They're going to make it interesting, is what I mean.
If the tattoos say something predicting his ending up on the island, I'll think it's worth knowing.
The tattoos are going to say, you never give up.
Oh, God.
You never quit.
I can't imagine. See, that's the thing. I can't imagine what the tattoos would say that would be significant. And
that's why you don't write for Lost. I mean, that's usually what I go to too. I'm like, I can't imagine what it's going to be, and I'm like, well, that's why I'm not a writer on the show, because I think they can. I think they can make it interesting. I think they could.
They could, but will they?
Ooh, now there's the question, isn't there? That's the rub.
Oh, the rub. Yeah, I was mildly curious about Jack's tattoos back in, season 1 when there was time to care about such things. But at this point, whatever. If they never revealed that, I wouldn't be angry. I would rather them make time for another mystery that's more interesting. But whatever. If they make it good, I'll be happy.
I became even less interested in his tattoos when I found out that those are actually Matthew Fox's tattoos.
Yeah, those are actually his tattoos.
And that they just wrote them into the show.
They just basically decided not to cover them up every episode.
Yeah. And to me, that makes it even less interesting because there's no intentionality behind the tattoos. They just happen to be there. It's like talking about someone's mole or something. It's just there.
Well, unless but I mean, it's a mole that wasn't always there. So then that's kind of interesting. It's like, yeah, that mole means you can, whatever, you've got special powers with that mole.
Yeah, maybe it's like a third eye mole. What? I can't imagine what they... Well, we'll see.
I think it's possible that even though they already existed, they can come up with something interesting for them.
Yeah.
They're open to interpretation to some extent. They're not that explicit. So
yeah, maybe. But in the preview, they show this kind of scary looking woman saying you do commenting on one of the tattoos that's a Chinese word or something.
Right.
And she says, "You do know what it means, don't you?" Well, there's got to be someone out there, say, a couple billion people in China who can actually read what it says.
Well, I bet it's some sort of saying or proverb or something, and I bet it's going to be an interpretational thing where if it just basically says, a stitch in time saves 9, she's going to relate that to something going on the show.
Yeah, probably. But then that's kind of where I think they're going with this, and that's why I can't imagine that it's going to be that interesting.
I'm actually wondering if they're even going to focus on the tattoos anyway. They did show that in the promo, which means it's probably not that important. She's gonna be like, "You do know what they mean, though." He's gonna be like, "Yeah." She's gonna be like, "Okay, I'm leaving now."
Well, maybe, but I still think that if one of the 3 island mysteries that they're talking about is his tattoos, I'm gonna have to seriously reconsider watching the show.
Well, I'm thinking since they showed it in the promo, it might not be one of the big 3 mysteries.
Yeah.
But they also showed Cindy in the promo. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say
Cindy's not a mystery.
And say, I guarantee they tell you what I guarantee they tell you what Jack's tattoos mean.
You're going to guarantee it.
I'm going to guarantee it.
This is a Justin guarantee.
It's the Lost Lowdown promise.
Hey, no.
Yeah, I pulled you in.
Don't pull me into your guarantee.
You're part of this now. You can't complain.
Oh, great. Now I'm part of it. I do think they will tell us what it means. I'm just saying it doesn't necessarily have to be one of the big 3 mysteries.
Considering the fact that it was probably some unpaid intern at ABC who came up with that 3 of the island mysteries revealed.
By unpaid intern, you mean Damon?
They
do that.
You mean Carlton Cuse? Wait, who are you talking about?
But they don't come up with those.
Oh, come on. Yeah, you're right. They don't.
Yeah, they really have nothing to do with
So I think that there's a very good chance that after watching the episode we'll be like, okay, so what were the 3 island mysteries?
They did this last season. I remember.
They did.
They said, we're going to answer. Was it 3? Was it 5? There was some number of mysteries.
3. I think there were 3 of your questions.
Yeah, I remember that promo from last season. Basically the same idea. But the reason I think Jack's tattoos is one of them is because I've read a bunch of interviews with David and Carlton where they've said where they sort of referred to it as a mystery and said they were going to answer it this season.
Yeah.
Along with Locke's, how Locke lost his legs. Those 2 are always mentioned sort of at the same time as being like mystery. They're sort of like character mysteries, I guess, not really like island mysteries or interesting mysteries, I should say.
Yeah, exactly. One and the same.
But I think it's going to count as one of them.
That's fine.
That's
I'll
just
buy that.
my
basically in the promo, besides all that stuff, we see Jack, still captured and sort of they're trying to do something with him, and they introduce some new other lady. We see Juliet
they put him out in the cage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we see Juliet being taken somewhere in handcuffs, so she's in deep trouble. And if I'm not mistaken, are the Losties plotting to rescue Jack or Jack, I should say?
Well, Kate seems to be saying that.
Yeah. Certainly appears so. And I believe there was a preview for this week's episode that showed maybe more of that from next week's episode. Where
there's a clip of Sawyer asking Carl, right?
Kate.
You mean Kate?
Carl.
Kate asks Carl.
What they do with the kids.
You don't know it's Carl, right? Did they show that it was
Justin
Carl?
Told me it was Carl.
We sort of deduced that. Who could she be asking so casually?
It was. Yeah, you can't really see it. They show like shots of the kids.
Yeah, and then we see Kate saying, "What do you do with the kids when you take them or whatever?" And you don't see who she's talking to, but we sort of deduce it has to be Carl because who else could she talk to so casually? She's definitely not back with the others. So.
And who does she have access to?
Yeah,
it makes sense.
It's Carl she's asking. So, And then, we see Cindy, and then Cindy said, he's like, what are you doing here? And she says, we're here to watch.
No. He says, what are you doing here? And his signature Jack screaming. God, that man has no patience.
Go get that
you're right.
Just do it!
Yeah, you're right. He's like, what are you doing here? Why is he so mad? Why is he? He's really mad.
Jack's way. I think he's suggesting that she sort of betrayed them by, the fact that the others are letting her walk around and she's sort of standing there like. I think he's suggesting that she's like on their side or something.
Yeah, and the preview also makes it look like he doesn't even remember her at first. She has to remind him who she is.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Oh yeah, I didn't catch that.
Maybe in the Canadian one.
No, it's not in the Canadian one. It's in the normal one, but
the normal one.
The normal one.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I just betray my cultural biases?
There goes Canada. We've lost New Zealand.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, we've lost New Zealand, Canada,
Scotland,
all
Canada.
the British Isles. We don't. All of our listeners now have to be in America or some other European countries. So. Wow.
Oh dear.
But the Canadians never get offended, so.
I think it might have been.
I'm sure by now they have very tough
the
skin.
lost moments that they were showing during Daybreak back when it was on. A longer version of that Cindy scene appears as one of those, and it might have been in that where he.
Yeah, because I don't remember that from this promo.
We did watch a bunch of those today.
Because So
he shouldn't remember her at all. I mean, it's been so long. He's been through so much, and he saw her a couple times on the plane, weeks ago. Like, he shouldn't outright be like, "Oh yeah, you're a stewardess." Yeah, no.
Yeah, it kind of fits in with the with that scene in the first part of the season when Kate says something about Ben. It's like, who's Ben?
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, who's Ben? She's Henry Gale. Like, yeah, he shouldn't know the name Ben. Just like Jack really shouldn't remember Cindy, even though the viewer remembers Cindy.
Yeah. Well, how could you forget poor Cindy?
I think Jack should remember her with coaching, but I agree he shouldn't recognize her immediately.
No, yeah, with coaching, which it seems like he does.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But anyway, she says we're here to watch, which at first I was like, whoa, like, what does that mean? Like this sort of grand idea. They're just there to watch forever. Like, watch the drama unfold, you know.
Yikes.
But then I guess it's like
a comment on the meaning of life.
Yeah, like, we're here to watch, you know,
Yikes.
and see if you guys can survive the treacherous of the island and whatever. And is treacherous a word?
No.
Did I just make that up?
Treacherous. If I'm not mistaken,
that was nice. It should be a word.
I think you turned an adjective into a noun.
Nice. Well, yeah, treacherous. I made it, a noun. Wow.
Yeah.
The treacherous.
Treacherous.
That sounds like a good horror movie. The treacherous.
Treacherous.
Wow.
Oh.
All right, what were you saying, Jennifer?
I was just going to say that if I'm not mistaken, that little clip led someone to post a comment on the website that suggested that Cindy might be a mole, or that
Website?
Yeah, you guys have a website, right?
Whoa, really?
It's not a thelostlowdown.blogspot.com. I just found it the other day.
Go there now.
Randomly.
Wow, I'm gonna go for the first time right now.
Leave a comment. Sign our Frapper map.
I will.
Send us email.
I will.
lostlowdown@gmail.com.
I really think, this is neither here nor
plug
there.
time.
It's, I think it's a little inconsistent that it's the Lost Lowdown for the website and just Lost Lowdown for the email.
Yeah.
I think that's confusing.
Actually, didn't you try to get the Lost Lowdown
for the email?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember.
I thought you tried it and you couldn't get it. Or maybe...
No, you tried to get Lost Lowdown for the website, and you couldn't get it.
Or maybe that's what happened.
I think what I tried to do was get the Lost Lowdown from the website and Lost Lowdown for Gmail, and that's what I did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, how about that?
I thought we discussed that. Whatever.
Anyway, so this scene provoked, if I'm not mistaken, someone on the website to suggest that Cindy might be a mole.
Oh.
I think that was Kurt.
Kurt Yanko of the Black Rock Podcast, which I don't know if they're still active, but that's who it is.
So I just thought that was interesting. I didn't have anything to say about it.
Yeah, and my point about that, which I said on the website, which is that I don't think she qualifies as a mole, even if she's on their side now.
That's not what a mole
she
is.
was before.
It just means she got to see that bitchin' video about how we're all the causes of our own suffering, and
everything changes.
Everything changes, yeah.
And God loved you like He loved Jacob.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Speaking of the comments, thanks to the guys who posted comments.
Yeah, indeed. I don't remember all your names, but yeah.
Oh, they know who they are.
Yeah. I go read them, but I don't know.
What else, guys? Anything else you guys want to bring up before we close this podcast?
Just that the woman in the ring shop is most assuredly not the woman reading Jack's tattoos, like some people in the internet.
No, she totally is not.
Yeah, as soon as that started up, I realized, oh man, yeah, it's a new season. We're back to that nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
Oh look, there's Michael toiling in the background. Like, ugh, enough. People just, oh man, wow. So yeah, no, it's clearly not her when you sort of look at them closely. But anyway,
I want to say one thing about her when she says, if you don't do this, every one of us is dead. Mm-hmm. I thought that was really creepy because I didn't know what us she was referring to.
Yeah,
then I was
that is interesting.
Is there some secret society of people who know what's, who sort of know what's going on in a general sense and they're the ones who are gonna die, not just regular humanity.
That's another reason why I think she's a function of the island in his mind.
I guess I thought she was talking about everyone in the world.
Yeah,
as us.
I think that is what she means.
Well, but the way she said it seemed like she emphasized us. She could have just said everyone will die, but she said every one of us is dead. And what did you call it, Justin? Nitpicking with Claude, or
Claude's nitpick hour. I don't remember.
Nitpick hour. Let's please not let it last an hour.
Splitting hairs with Claude or something.
Yeah. That was it.
Yeah, I mean, this is splitting hairs, but I get hung up over lines of dialogue because there's so many different ways to say the same thing. But every one of us is dead, which makes me think, maybe the island, if she is a product of the island, then maybe pressing the button, it serves a function for the island too. I don't think we've ever thought of that before, but
yeah, that's pretty interesting. It's a fair point considering it seems like the island was telling Echo that the button was very important and he had to, blah blah blah, do this. And
although, wasn't it the island who showed them how to get to the question mark hatch?
Yeah. Okay. Well, then see, I have a model. And
can I just say, guys, that it's complicated.
Oh, there we go. That's all we need.
This actually is.
I don't know what happened. She was just going for a walk.
I love that. I offered to watch the baby. I love that because it was like, oh, hey, where's Claire? Oh, she went for a walk. I offered to walk the baby, and then I said, Claire, your blouse looks really nice. And then she said, oh, thanks, son. Your hair is good. It just seemed like son wanted to keep talking, and Claire just like, shut up, son, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
She's bored.
You're not in this episode. Quiet.
Exactly. You get two lines.
That was actually an unscripted appearance by her.
She just showed up.
I do want to say one kind of random thing that has absolutely no importance about the next week on Lost.
Cool.
Which is that it seems like they keep introducing new others.
Yeah.
But we keep not seeing some of the others that we saw. Like, where's Clue?
Clue's gone.
Clue. I want to know what she's up to.
I think she eloped with Michael.
I think
she swam after them.
Oh man, that's really ridiculous. I think we've seen most of the others we know, except for Clue. Like, Clue's the exception. My understanding is that she was working on some other show. They wanted her, couldn't get her. We would have seen her, but life intervened,
What show? She's on another show.
Yeah, I don't know if it's another show, but she was working on something else.
Because she seemed to me to be a very good actress.
Yes, she was very good, very creepy, and I think she will reappear at some point. But besides that, I think most of our famous others have been presented.
Well, and plus it's the idea that she mainly works with the kids anyway, so
that's
she
what I'm
wouldn't
thinking,
really she wouldn't really be on the mini island.
Yeah. So maybe we'll see her next episode. I don't think so, but maybe we will.
Well, you think we're going to see
I was expecting to see her in the preview for next week's episode, given what next week's episode seems to be about.
Do you think we're going to see the kids, though?
No.
I think we might see the kids.
Okay.
I think there's a chance. If we don't see the kids, they're going to mention them. Obviously,
Cindy. I think at the least Cindy will say what happened to the kids.
Yeah, at the least, I agree. But I think there's a chance that somehow we'll see. But I don't know how it's going to work because Jack's locked up. But,
Cindy does this thing when she says we're here to watch.
It was like she was questioning, right?
No, I mean I felt like what I actually thought it was kind of like when Desmond says, like, no, I wasn't saving Claire, I was saving you. Like, obviously we're here to watch. Like,
I took it as like she was questioning, like, we're here to watch, like don't you know we're here to watch type thing?
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah,
don't you realize that we're here to watch?
Yeah.
Like, why don't you know that we're here to watch? I think we're saying the same thing.
I have to take it from both of you. I thought she was saying, like, we're here to watch?
Well, like I think, it was questioning, but not that she didn't know the answer, but she was surprised that Jack didn't know the answer.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought, like, she knew what she was doing, but she didn't really understand it. She just knew she was supposed to be there to watch. Like, I took it.
Yeah, I can see that too. Like, we're here to watch, I guess. That's what we're told, but I don't know what we're watching or why.
Yeah,
I can see that too.
I guess we'll see. I guess we'll get more on that next week.
Something to look forward to. All right, guys. Well, it's been another riveting episode of the Lost Lowdown.
Indeed.
And
we'll be back next week.
This one will come in probably right under 3 hours, so it's one of our sort of shorties.
Yes,
but hopefully it's a goodie.
Listen to a classic Lost Lowdown after that.
Yeah, please go listen to a classic Lost Lowdown.
I love that. I love that with reruns on TV. They always refer to like a classic.
Yeah.
Classic episode.
It's a classic if it's old.
The only problem with our classics is that classic means irrelevant.
Yeah.
At least in terms of what's going on the show now. But that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to relive.
Maybe we'll be entertaining
the
anyway.
old naivete.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. I was listening to some old Lost Cast at one point, and it was actually kind of fun to hear them be on the wrong track all the time.
Oh, but aren't they on the wrong track all the time?
Well, that's true. They don't need the...
That was just a joke. I'm joking. I love those guys.
No.
Joke.
They just get everything wrong about the episode, not like about their theories.
Exactly. Their theories are totally wrong. I mean, what?
Oh.
All right, I'm going to go before I get some angry emails.
Yeah, more angry emails beyond the New Zealanders.
The many nations that we have offended today.
Yeah, hey Justin, you take the Southern Hemisphere hate emails. I'll take the Northern Hemisphere.
Got it. The Southern Hemisphere has way less.
Yeah, I was
going to
say, Justin, I think you.
All I get is like Australia and the southern part of Africa and the southern part of South America. That's it.
Yeah, but you get New Zealand, and I think that's where a lot of the hate's going to come from.
I see.
Yeah,
they are a hateful people, aren't they?
Those Kiwis are really hateful. Those Kiwis are they're like, they're near Tasmania. That's where it comes from. They're vicious, like Tasmanian devils.
Spin around and gobble things indiscriminately.
They're so cartoon-like. All right, we really should go now.
Yes.
Clearly it's time.
Well, thanks for having me on. It was fun.
Yeah, thank you, Jennifer, for joining us once again. Go back to your foot fetish modeling.
I'm doing it right now.
Oh, yikes. What's your website now?
thelostlowdown.blogspot.com.
We're gonna get a lot of people who are like, "Where's the foot fetishes? Where's the pictures of feet?
Bring on the feet."
Speaking of feet, thank you for listening. And thanks and namaste.
Namaste and good luck.